This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, the goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
This is Richard from Magic Rock, all masked up down at the tap room in Birkby, wishing everyone on the podcast congratulations on your 100th episode. Here's to the next 100 and a positive end to the season, and hopefully see some of you down here at the tap room next season. Cheers.
A long time ago, I can still remember how Dave Wagner's team made us smile. And Schindler took his chance. It made the town fans sing and dance and made us kind of happy for a while. But Tuesday evenings made me shiver with every podcast we deliver. Bad news for Jan Sievert. 16 points really hurt. Danny Cowley came and tried, but we need a striker like Offside Clyde. We said our piece, we'd never hide. Blue and white in the wool dyed. So, anyone going to sing it? We've just had this in the intro before, and you're all sat there ready to shit house me already,
Bye, Miss America.
Goodbye.
Levy was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This will be the day that I die."
Right, that's enough.
We probably
Matt,
should
you've had all that time off, Matt, and that's what you came up with.
Yeah, so I'm going to say them good old boys should be drinking Magic Rock, to be honest, and maybe they'll be a bit happier with things. But welcome to episode 100 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Coming up this week, we'll have a look back over a 4-point haul against QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, as they're now known after 2017. A few mins on the Hoyle interview and a rather self-indulgent reminisce about our times on this very podcast over the last 100 episodes. This evening, we've a bumper lineup, -1 now. And with half the panel old enough to have had their first COVID jabs, joining this week, as usual, is the king of Kosi. It's Richard Kusmala.
Yeah, we're not having his jabs for another month now, are we? How bad's that? Who's run out of jabs?
I thought you'd have had yours in January, to be honest. He kind of joined us a year into podding. It's Simon Copland, a man who was once known as the Wop Hunter Neil Wayne, has not joined us. At the end of the show, you'll know... I still the line. At the end of this show, you'll know why I refer to him as Pozzerotti. It's Dan Porritt. And a man who shows more skin than Pornhub, it's Brady Frost. And he may be a junior in podding terms, but he's a senior in name. It's Phil Senior. So hello to everyone watching online as well. And good evening, everyone. How are we doing?
Good evening.
Nice to have you back, Matthew.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Talking about last night away. God, how good was that? What a game that was. Great advert for the championship.
That's the first thing that's come up on the agenda last night. So does anybody want to actually talk about this? For me,
let me start.
Phil,
start
do you
first.
play with Josh Swindass? How fast were he? He looked like Moses Kiptanua, mate, compared to Nabisar. What was that about?
Josh Windass was never quick when he was in the academy when I was coaching. And the thing about Josh Windass was his movement was brilliant. Always kind of like Jordan Rhodes-esque kind of thing. He was always one step ahead, and we never really had a lot of pace. So when he came steaming in off the wing last night, I couldn't believe it. He must have been doing a bit of running practice, but no, it wasn't. It was a poor goal, wasn't it? It was a really poor goal. But what I was going to say was, we've been crying out for Carlos to play these different kind of formations, and he did last night. He seemed to play every single formation under the sun. just to try and adapt. And it were hard, wasn't it? It was just a tough game. We looked solid enough. They never looked like they were going to cause any problems. But it was, again, just that attacking threat, just the options going forward, and kind of, you know, he's gone to 3 at the back now, so we're not playing with these wide players. So it's a different kind of style of football, and I think this is where your strikers are really important. The people up top are, in a 3-5-2, extremely important for, you know, to hold the ball up and link players in. And again, we just looked void of ideas
I think
at times.
you got the starting lineup wrong a bit there, Phil, because we're looking at that, and the front two, Fraser Campbell, okay, he can do that. But Dwayne Holmes as a kind of second striker, number 10, that seemed like it didn't quite work against a team that was going to sit back like them.
I mean, I just think that the fact that Rowe didn't start, for me, I'd have started my strongest. We had a bit, I'm in a WhatsApp group, and we had a bit of a laugh because I said, I can't believe we didn't start our strongest team. And someone actually said, "Have you got a strongest team?" but like Aaron Rowe's been brilliant. He's been fantastic at the moment, a bright spark, and for him to come on, maybe that was the kind of plan. Maybe it was to kind of stifle him early doors and to bring a few players on towards the end of the game when Wednesday clearly tired, because they do struggle towards the end of the game. But again, it's just the fact that we couldn't break them down, and it was difficult, wasn't it?
It was strange, wasn't it? Because I think Wednesday kind of surprised Carlos a little bit with they sort of left men up, didn't they? And I think he said in his interview he had a decision to make. Does he go 1 for 1, or does he rejig our formation? And in some respects, it was quite pleasing that we just left it as we were.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't sort of cave to that, and we had a game plan, and we stuck to it, which were nice to see. I think we're a poor goal, as you've said, to give away. I've seen quite a lot of criticism for Naby Sarr, but for me, he can't really do much more than that. It's lumped over at the top to him. He's always second best running, and if he tries to put some sort of tackle in there, he brings Windass down, and he's walking as well as Sarr. So, some people say no, he should have dived in and took ball, but if you miss time that, which is quite likely with someone like Naby Sarr, you're down to 10 men. You're hoping just probably there as a defender just to put him off best you can, and hopefully you can hassle him that much he don't get a good shot off, which obviously he didn't. It flew him back at net, but it was one of those performances, wasn't it? I think we've gone back to points make prizes, and let's get points where we can. It weren't inspiring, but to me we're past that stage of needing to be inspiring now. We just need to get as many points as we can when we can.
I think for me, Poz, though, it's like I'm not going to come and slag Carlos here, because I just thought after Saturday it was a must not lose game. There's quite a lot of criticism, and you're not supposed to kind of, Seal was happy to defend and, kind of chisel out a draw, but we had everything to lose. I know people say, well, we should be beating the bottom teams, whatever, but we've done the hard work on Saturday at QPR. The last thing we needed to do was give them a sniff to get out of it, and we did, didn't we? We was bad defending, but I was quite happy to grind out a draw. And I think the thing Neil put on our group, didn't he? Once we equalised, we've got to go and win it now. Let's go on and win it. But I never thought that we'd do that. So I ain't going to come on here and criticise Carlos for not going for it, because what were the point of us going for it when they really had to win more than us? And yeah, I just think we just had to suck it up really, and just kind of think the 4 points has been a good take from the 2 games.
Brady, I'll bring you in at this point. We saw the 2 sides of Naby Sarr. We always see it, don't we? Naby Moore and Gordon Tuksar, the 2 sides of Naby. We saw 2 sides. Like I say, on the 2 goals, we saw 2 sides, didn't we? We saw him get caught out by a simple hook. It was a very Sunday league hook over the shoulder, wasn't it? And then him pop up where he's threatening in the box as well, and a bit of redemption as well. So fair play to Naby for helping us grind that point out.
Yeah, definitely. I think Town have obviously we've been a bit more stable, but I think Naby's actually been all right bar last night. But like you say, when he plays well, we tend to play well. I think I kind of agree with what Kosi's saying. It's like a point isn't that bad, but I think it's the circumstances, it's the performance. We were pretty bad. It's nice to know when we're doing the 100th episode that we're still talking about Town playing a bit rubbish. But yeah, we weren't good. And I think obviously we've built a gap, and like at least we didn't lose, and we came back to win, and that's all positive. And I think we've only lost, we're unbeaten in 4 now, but they were there for the beating really. And if we'd have won, we probably would have been pretty much safe. I know it's a couple of weeks, but I think that's the disappointing thing. It was the performance, because we were terrible, so were Wednesday. But what surprises me is obviously we had that win against Swansea, we had the win against QPR at the weekend, and you think, oh, we'd go into the game being like up for it and having a bit of momentum, and we just reminded me a bit of the Derby game where we lost 2-0, but we obviously the subs seemed to change it really in this game, but just don't really seem to build any momentum, and that, to be honest, that's probably why we are down where we are.
Si, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was more important that Sheffield Wednesday didn't get 3 points than we did, in terms of kind of increasing that gap to the bottom 3. I think we're 10 points clear now of Rotherham, albeit they've got a few games in hand, quite a lot of games in hand actually. I think we've sat on this podcast before, and I certainly haven't, and I kind of criticised Carlos for playing too up and too expansive football, for not reading the room, not reading the situation. So I don't think I can credibly sit here and criticise him for kind of playing a more solid, defensive-minded game, taking a point. I agree with what you're saying to an extent. Some of the substitutions, kind of towards the end of the game, were very defensive-minded when perhaps we could have gone for it. Sorry, I'm just watching Phil and he's making me laugh. I don't quite know why, but he is.
He's in his car dogging by the looks of it, isn't he? I can't say he's down at Oakwell Hall or something.
I couldn't work out if he was driving at one point, but I thought he was never looking at the road.
What about Kachunga's little ball? Where that was like turning back the clock, won it to 2016 Huddersfield Town, and he put it out to the Silver Fox, and he scored our goal. To be fair, to Patson, didn't he? But it was a great save, mate, from Schofield, who's took a lot of criticism. He come straight out and did what he needed to do, mate. So I think we've got to give Schofield some credit, because we could have lost everything there, mate.
Schofield didn't put a foot wrong last night. I thought actually for that particular effort, he stayed tall. It'd have been easy for him to kind of fall over, commit to one side, and actually stood up really well and made a good save. The last few games, Schofield's been good. He always had that kind of wobble, didn't he, mid-season? Watford kind of was on in the memory, and the back pass there. He's kind of looked a little bit susceptible under the high ball since, but teams haven't kind of necessarily exposed him as much as what we thought they might do, or actually his confidence is starting to improve. And I think it's showing the value in persisting with him, and kind of, look forward to him kind of continue that form at the end of the season now.
I think we all said, didn't we, that keepers, especially young keepers, learn from stuff like that, and by bombing him out might have done him, more harm than good, really. So it's nice to see that he's come through that purple patch. Not purple patch, that's when you're good, isn't it? He's gone through that bad patch, and he sort of come out the other side. I think, like you say, side with maybe 3 defenders in front of him, it just gives him that little bit more reassurance that he's got people in front of him, and he's not having to sort of do it all on his own. But yeah, it's great to see that he's come through. And again, it's a good call by Carlos for leaving him in, because it would have been so easy after those few games to take him out side for 2 or 3 games, and then who knows if new keeper coming in plays really well, it's hard to put Schofield back in, and that could have been long-term detrimental to him. So, fair play to him and also to Carlos for that.
We are where we are, guys, but all I could think of, 2017, these two teams, this was a playoff semi-final. We top, in my opinion, quality players on both sides. If you look at what were on the pitch last night, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, they're going down. We're kind of rebuilding. I know it is what it is, but all I could think of is, like, we were there, weren't we, that year when Carvalho were there, obviously Wagner. We were massive games and that as well. And all the quality of the football, the pitch were awful. It always seems to be like that, Hildred, but it's both sides have fallen very quickly, haven't they, in the last few years. They probably overspent, paying for it. We've made bad decisions. God, I know we were upbeat then. I've absolutely killed it now, haven't I?
No, this is like 4 years ago, to be fair. Football can change in 6 months, and 4 years is a bit of a time. What I wanted to know, guys, is how do you feel on the preview show I did with the chicken? I sort of said a point, and I think we'll be okay with it, whereas he was like, "Oh no, it's a must win." And I've seen a bit of a mix with that. How do you guys feel in general? Do you feel satisfied with a point just to finish up on Sheffield Wednesday, or do you think it's too dropped?
Was that before QPR or after? Did he say
after? It was the day after. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you'd have said 4 points from QPR away and Wednesday away, you'd have taken it, because I think Si calls it right. If you're playing a team below you in league at this stage of the season and they don't win, they're not gaining out on you, and it's a game less for them to play. So I won't say really happy with the point, but I'd accept the point last night. If we'd have gone for it and lost, all of a sudden it can change
like
things.
Birmingham. Birmingham away.
So I were more than happy to see that out at 1-1.
Matt, it was so like a lot of our games. So when we started well, we were the better side. I watched it on the Wednesday kind of iPlayer, what have you, and they were like, I follow, so they were like, wow, Huddersfield, they don't look a team who's won like 2 away games in 300 years and what have you. And I just thought, I'm going to make guys, because what will happen here is we'll make a balls up, we won't score, and exactly what happened and stuff. And I think Chicken's right. Let's be honest. Yeah, it was good 4 points, but we've got to be winning that. They were awful, weren't they? If we'd have played anything like, I think we miss as gun players, mate. Karoma, I think these were the guys we badly lacked. I'm convinced we Holmes at a 10. I think you're right, Matt. I don't see him threading a ball through. There were times where he took
not in a 3-5-2.
Yeah, I don't. He takes it far. I don't see him like kind of, like even Kachunga, that ball through. I don't see Holmes kind of doing it. He always wants to shoot and be the glory man for me. I'm unconvinced of him being our 10, but I just think we lacked that quality. I'm going back for Moy, but that guy who was going to put that pass in, that create that bit of magic, it were two very ordinary sides, I'm afraid. I thought.
They had Barry Bannon as well, who seems to who I'd have in our side, but he seems to have had a dip, and a lot of those players at Sheffield Wednesday do as well, which is crazy. Phil, I know we've not got you for a long time tonight, because there's obviously things for you to see outside that car window. I want to talk about Schofield, and I know we've touched on Schofield, and Si made some great points as well. I want to bring it into the QPR game, because I thought Ryan Schofield had probably his best game for Town at QPR since Watford. Do you know, where in the home game against Watford, where he made a number of great saves. And I think it's right whereby we say negative, well, not so much negative, but where we question maybe Ryan Schofield. On the preview show, me and Brady both said we'd probably rest him, was the quote, but he's come back really with a flourish. And what we also say is there's nothing better than a Huddersfield fan playing for Huddersfield Town and doing well. And Ryan had a great game against QPR.
Yeah, it's difficult with that with the Huddersfield fan shout, because you in essence you do want your own kind of homegrown kids to play, but you want the best for your team as well, don't you? And you want to make sure you're winning. So it's always a catch-22 really. Some people who don't deserve to play will still kind of get that adulation just because they're local. So it's a difficult one, but I'm really pleased for him. I think Si just hit the nail on the head perfectly there. The three at the back has really helped him, I think, as a younger keeper, and he has struggled a little bit in terms of the balls into the box. I think the three have been brilliant. I was going to touch upon it. I mean, I know I said that we didn't really get challenged, but some of the balls into the box last night were dealt with so easily from the three centre halves. Naby Sarr, Keogh was brilliant, I thought, in terms of mopping up and sweeping.
2 good games in a row from Mr. Keogh.
And it makes a difference. That three at the back does make a difference. What it does is it just takes away from that kind of attacking flair. But going back to Ryan, I think it's needed. I think if you persevere with someone, you're going to get the best out of them at times, aren't you? You're not always going to get 100% consistency, but you will get that from just kind of keeping them in a bit of a run of games. And I think you can see, even when we were struggling, I still don't think he looked like he was lacking confidence, but you can see that there's more confidence in there now. I think that save he made when it was kind of like a clear kind of open goal really, and it just put it down to his right, and he didn't catch it, but his second attempt to kick it away, it kind of summed up that it kind of
away, wasn't it? How switched on he was straight away, and
and
the danger.
I mean, he'll probably look back at that and thought, well, I should have kept hold of it in the first place. So, well, I'm hoping he would do, because that's the kind of reflection that you want from a keeper. But I think he's been brilliant. I think he's been much better. And like you say, it does help when he's an homegrown kid, because we do want to get behind these kids. My arguments about this academy have gone on for a long time, and I'm sat outside Oakwell now with my little boy who's 8-year-old, and all these boys from Huddersfield are having to go to different academies.
Oakwell,
and I think it is Oakwell.
And it's we've signed 2 more players here. One of the lads is coming from Huddersfield, obviously, but there's a lad from Leeds, and you want your homegrown kids at the club, don't you? Because it means that little bit more. And I'm sure
you can relate to it, Phil.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you can, as a kid growing up, I was never good enough to kind of play at any sort of level beyond kind of Sunday morning football. But as a kid growing up, you always wanted to be picked up by a local team, and you kind of now knocking on a bit. You think back and think, go on, you try and make it. Do you know what I mean? Go on, up and exit. And obviously, that's a bit more challenging now with the academy structure being the way it is. And you see, obviously, with we've brought two in today, like you say, from local, but we've brought a lot in from London as well. And not that you can't relate to those, but there is something different about someone being kind of brought up around the corner.
Well, definitely. I mean, like I say, you talk about the academy structure, but we don't have one. We only have one from the age of, 16, 17. So, it's difficult for fans really to, we're jumping onto, I mean, like, is it Diarra scored that worldie, didn't he, the other day?
Yeah, great goal. Yeah.
Oh, he's not Huddersfield kid, but we're going to have to jump on these, aren't we? It's our juniors now, and it's a different way of looking at it. I think of Boothies and, Ian Lawson and young lads like this, Delroy and people like that, Rodney Rowe, all Huddersfield kids, Chris Billy, list's endless, and there's an affinity to them, isn't there? And we don't seem to have that at the moment. So, but end of the day, it's, whether it's someone from London, Liverpool, Scotland, at the moment, it's not making a difference. We just need young kids to come through and make a difference, don't we?
Phil, what did you make of Jordan Rhodes? I thought he should have had a penalty. I thought Keel brought him down. You red button guys will have not had the benefit of any replays because it was crap. But us dodgy TV guys had the benefit of a few, and I thought, but again, it sounds like it's Huddersfield Town's done and dusted for next season. But I don't know.
Kosi, I missed it. I missed that penalty. I was more disappointed with when Fraser Campbell had that chance to have a shot, and then he cut inside. And everyone was looking for a penalty there. I thought he should have taken his shot off there. I missed that. But are you saying it in relation to, should we have Jordan Rhodes at the club next year?
Yeah, I'm just thinking if that's an audition. I mean, it's a bad argument really, because he's playing an hour in a crap team on a crap pitch who are down. But I'm just thinking, from what we saw for an hour last night, can that erupt to be a great Huddersfield Town player again? And that, so I'm just unconvinced, mate, about it.
No, I don't believe we should. I think we should be moving on. We should be looking at these. We should be looking at other players. For me, I think he's had his time at Huddersfield. I know it sounds bad, really. That's me coming as an ex-pro, but I just think he's had his time. He was good for it. He was very good for us. I was really impressed watching him when he played. In fact, I felt sometimes he was let down when he was at the club, because some of the runs he made were unbelievable. And when I was sat up above the dugouts and you could see from the top tier some of the movement, but I just think we need to move on. We need to look at other players. I really do.
So on that point, Phil, let me ask you a question. Might be asking the question you're about to ask, but if you don't take Jordan Rhodes next season, do you take Yaya Sanogo for another season?
Yeah. Hey, like-minded, eh? Bloody hell. I was going to ask you a lot of that, because, I mean, he's looked good, hasn't he? He battles, he challenges up the top, he's winning headers, he looks like he wants to work hard. We haven't really, technically it looks good in terms of linking play.
His link play is good,
yeah. So the only question is, we'll say this and Sanogo's playing well, but then if he gets the chances that Fraser gets and he still doesn't score them.
Well, he missed from a yard against QPR that we should probably gloss over, where he kind of got his body a bit twisted, didn't he?
No, I'm not having that. That would have had a chance for that, mate. That would have tough chance.
Not when you watch it back, I'm not.
He's a professional footballer. He should be scoring them all the time.
The ball
in. Like 2 yards out.
Brian, that would have tough opportunity, that, mate. The keeper were there.
Them 2 yarders are tricky, aren't they?
Oh, come on. You wouldn't even.
You won't believe this because I got it next match, so I didn't see it.
Ozzy, if that was Fraser, would you be as lenient?
I don't think so. WhatsApp would be frothing.
That screen stuck.
Okay then. What I would like to talk about. So let's go to the YouTube channel. So hello to everyone watching at the minute. There's 28 watching our 100th episode. Damien Wells says, I think we would have been feeling different had we drawn at QPR and beaten Wednesday, but he's chuffed with the 4 points from those 2 games. Jacob Hurst said, a poor game by poor design. Game plan went out as soon as they scored, as it was attack versus defence, which is true. Tom on here mentioned something quite good, and I'm going to throw this to you, Poz, because we've touched on the back three, and you as our resident centre-back. I want you to let us know or tell us how good the back three have been, because he mentions Romani Edmonds-Green we haven't lost since he's come back in, and we've obviously Kosi's buzzing about being 4 unbeaten as well. But we've only conceded 2 goals in those 4 games, I think. Just looking back, 2 in 4. The defence, just tell us how good the defence has been and the improvements in Keogh and Naby Sarri against Cardiff, I thought was outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, as I say, good, isn't it? The stats are real off No, I like 3-5-2 as a formation. I think it gives you. I know that modern day seems to be, the 4-2-3-1 now, doesn't it? Everyone seems to play that, but I like 3-5-2 because you can shift it quite easily into a 5-3-2. And I think when you've got 3 centre halves and only one spearheaded striker, it gives the other two a big chance to just get a little bit. They've got a bit more composure because they've got a lot of sort of thinking time, haven't they? And Edmonds Green he's obviously been a young lad. He's probably played in that mindset. Keogh's probably a little bit more old school, where your frantic centre half who's there to tackle and block, and Nabisar. All can happen with him. So I think, as daft as it seems, Edmonds Green coming in has probably been a little bit of a calming influence on back three. And I think, for such a young guy, to be able to come into a team that's been struggling in that area and sort of improve the whole of the defensive line and also the keeper, fair play to him there. He spends a lot of time dicking around on TikTok from what I've seen. So it comes natural to him because, he's obviously got a lot of spare time on his hand, but fair play to him if he's playing like that, then you don't mind it, do you? He's been a good asset over the last few games, and as you say, a couple of goals conceded in 4 games. It's unheard of this season, so that's off to him as well.
I'll throw this out to you.
What's wrong with TikTok, Poz?
Don't get me started, man. My young'un has it, man. It's all he talks about. I'm sick of hearing about it. I don't need town players on there as well.
Fellas, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to shoot.
Cheers, Phil.
All right, Phil.
Listen, just a big well done for everyone, by the way, as well. 100 episodes, it's great, isn't it? So keep up the good work.
Man.
Cheers,
We've
buddy.
been brilliant as well.
See you soon.
Cheers, Phil. Looks like Phil's car's steamed up, so he's had to go and stick his stuff on. So that's fine.
Police have arrived.
Right. Okay. So great stuff. So thanks for those. But I'm going to throw it out to all of you guys. And this, we obviously have had a change in style, and that change in style for me has brought a change in fortunes for that defense as well. Poz, so we'll talk about bringing in Romano Edmonds Green, but in terms of playing safe first, you'd notice on the goal kicks now they don't really split. It kind of goes to the halfway line. How much a player like Romano Edmonds Green as well. I don't think you can underestimate how not having to worry about playing at the back has also impacted on how well he can now concentrate on defending as well. And maybe that goes for all 3 of them. Just throw that out there to you guys. And how much do you put the newfound defensive resolve down to the changes in style at the back? Don't all shout at once. Brady, I'll pick on you.
Well, go on.
All because the lady loves milk tray first.
I think listening to Stephen Chicken, I think he made a good point. Like Naby Sarr, we were touching on, obviously had the mistake, but he's been a lot better recently, and I think that is the change in style. It's a simple thing to say, but the less he has to do with the ball, the less likely he's going to make mistakes, and I think that's the same. I think there's probably a wider point of whether we want this style next season, but we do look a lot more solid, and I think that's, We've talked about, I think Poz always has the points tally, but what is it, 24 points from, we lost 24 points from losing, from winning positions. If we were tightened defensively, of course, you're not going to get all 24 back. But if we got 10, for example, we'd be more than safe. And I think the change in style has been good. I think it's needed. I think it was a real concern, a couple of games ago, and maybe that's the introduction of Snogo, but I think just being a bit safer, just getting us over the line. I would really like to talk about getting towards the end of the season, talking about how next season will be better. I would like to talk about how this season's been good, but it is very, we're at the business end. There's less than 10 games to go. We do just need to kind of finish well, I think, so we can build on something for next season. But we do look a lot more solid. I think, like you've touched on, Matt, Keogh's looked a lot better. And I think he's given them less to do. And like you say, if they're not playing out from the back and passing it out, they can concentrate on, being solid defensively, going up against those challenges. And I think, again, it's not as much on them, it's on the strikers. We were complaining about giving errors away for the defenders and giving away sloppy goals, which did happen last night. But if we're doing that less and less, then that's more on the strikers if we're keeping clean sheets to win us the game.
Yeah, Jacob Hurst just put about Charlie Austin going up on Twitter. Did he kick off? I didn't see that.
It's something about one up on Richard Keogh, didn't he? And then he'll say he'll never be one up on me because of the playoff final or something, which was scored by Bobby Zamora, not Charlie Austin. But
you know, Sean Morrison has a beef with Richard Keogh as well. There was a video going around. I don't know what Richard Keogh's done to people. He's got a few enemies.
Sheffield Wednesday commented there. We've got previous with him as well. So former Northerly Q, if you want to have a go at Mr. Keogh.
King Shithouse, maybe that might be the thing. Kosi, you've got a wonderful way with words and describing things sometimes. And Brady sorry, I almost called Brady Tom then for a second. But Brady, I know I've not known you that long, Brady, have I? So I sat there looking like an indie bass guitarist. But talk about how we played out from the back. And Naby Sarr started the move quite brilliantly by breaking lines with the pass, which started to fed into Lewis O'Brien. And just talk us through that goal and Bakuna's strike against QPR, because when you watch it back, it was some goal, really.
Yeah, it was. And Bakuna is not afraid of having a strike on that as well. And it were a nice finish. I think we're being honest with QPR. They should have done what Bakuna did to them. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. Straight at Schofield.
Todd Kane.
Yeah, Todd Kane. So, we should have been behind there. But yeah, really good. And O'Brien getting forward, that was pretty evident as well early last night. It didn't quite happen, later on in the game. But it's when he gets forward, he's quick as well, isn't he, for a little guy? And
carries it brilliantly, doesn't he? Carries the ball brilliantly. Yeah.
He does. I like what he does. And Bakuna, he's marmiting in here with Town fans, but great finish. And again, it was so comfortable on Saturday. It was un-Town-like, really. You're waiting for the error or the kind of header team. QPR were getting frustrated. The ex-England man, Andy Sinton, was doing a commentary on my TV, and he was very frustrated with them, but they showed nothing. I think they'd been on a good run as well. But the thing that made me laugh most of all, when he said Fraser Campbell had 12 minutes in an England shirt. I can't believe that. It's true, isn't it?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember when he played. He had a really good spell. I think he was at Cardiff where he had a good spell in the top flight. Yeah, and he got a call up. And it was around the same time people like Jay Bothroyd and whatnot were getting called up as well.
I think if we're being honest, though, guys, rather than Sheffield Wednesday had done, I think, out there, Wickham they won a game in the other week, but rather than you can't see them winning them games in hand. I think you said it before, positive.
Are they allowed to play? Because I didn't read that. Because just to fill people in who are obviously listening to our conversation, Poz, you put a post in our WhatsApp group, didn't you, about how 25 people have had coronavirus at Rotherham? Is that current, or does?
I'm not 100% sure on that, to be fair, because when you clicked on the link, the BBC article had either been taken down or it were blocked for some reason. So whether or not the information were originally wrong, I'm not 100% sure. But I think what Kosi says is right. Wednesday, after not gaining out on us last night, I can't see them catching us. Rotherham, although they've got games in hand, they're not going to win them all. They'll have to play in quick succession. I think people as well also forget that there's a few teams between us and the actual drop zone where that some fans go on. You'd think we were fourth bottom, but below us there's still, is it Derby, Forest, Birmingham?
Yeah, Birmingham win, didn't they, under Mr. Bowyer.
I think what's going to be interesting for us guys, our next two games obviously against Norwich and Brentford and Norwich and Bournemouth, I suppose you could throw that in as well. Three of the best teams in the division. Is Carlos going to kind of, this real Bustala, we're going to surprise him? It's going to be interesting, really. I just hope that, like you said, Brady, that it needs to must at the moment. We need to do something different. We've criticised him for not doing it, so it'll be fascinating to see what it does there as well, because Norwich are just taking everyone apart out there at the moment, and and Bournemouth a bit hit and miss, but
Phil Billing with his gangly overhead kick.
Yeah, and obviously Brentford game's been shifted to the Saturday, so we'll have a little bit more rest as well. But they're kind of they're three interesting games, and I think the good thing is the pressure's off a little bit now for us. Having said that, watch Rotherham win the next two before we go. But it's I'm fascinated to see how we approach these, because like Swansea, you don't expect much. Cardiff, you didn't expect much, and we delivered. So can we do it in them three? But yeah, for the future, maybe them games.
From my point of view, sorry, Matt, completely agree with everything that's been said around the defence being much more solid. One word of caution would be the calibre of opposition that we've played. Birmingham, QPR, Sheffield Wednesday. These are the greatest teams, and kind of that's shown by the position in the league table. So be interested to see how this kind of 3-5-2 formation works against some of the better teams that you mentioned there, Kosi. I think that would be a more difficult test for us. I think what I'd like to see, and kind of links back to Brady's point, is we get enough points to get safe, and then actually let's see perhaps some of these kids we've brought in, the likes of Sorba Thomas, towards the back end of the season, a little bit more reflection of the style, what we hope to see next season. Because I think at the end of the season could then be quite interesting for us. We do need to get enough points to be safe first of all.
Sadly, I don't think we'll be seeing Danny Grant, who went off injured on his first appearance for the under-19s the other day. So he's had it really tough since moving over, and he probably doesn't listen to the podcast. But if he does, we'd all, I think, surely wish him the best in his recovery. He's had a tough one.
I remember sat in Anglian Cricket Club that night when Romany Critchlow played Nottingham Forest in August, and I thought, wow, what a player we've got here.
I don't know. It was a bit of a, for me. I thought it was poor against Rochdale. I thought it was a bit of a Liam Rydal style Man of the Match award where he did a couple of things towards the end, but during the game he was a bit so first half. I don't think he's quite there. I don't think he's far off, but I don't think he's quite there.
It's weird, isn't it? The guys that we were kind of saying, like Sim and Matt, they've really nowhere. I remember it's one for another pod, in it, kind of looking at the youngsters.
I think if Naby Sarr got injured, I think Critchlow would come in being that left-footed one. But I think Naby Sarr's nailed it, hasn't he, at the minute? So I don't think they would play Critchlow. I think Critchlow in the left of a back three would actually be quite decent. He's got that left foot and he plays wide quite well as well. So I think that's one to maybe have a look at.
The Pippa thing, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how he was enjoying it playing on the left, and kind of maybe it gives us. We were kind of a bit positive about it, but having
set the goal up against QPR.
Yeah, I still don't know what to think, to be honest with you. Fair play to him for just cracking on and making a good fist of it, but I just prefer, round pegs and round holes. But it is what it is. I think the thing is, what is pretty clear to me, Jayden Brown, nowhere near it, is.
He had a concussion and he's not been around the squad, has he, since he came back? So I'm not sure what's going on. Whether there's an injury they've just not told us.
Toffolo's quite a long way off.
I was going to say some good news, guys. The good news is we've now got this international break, but in April we are expecting the likes of Toffolo, Josh Caroma, and Carol Eiting, and a couple of others to be back and available. So
yes,
apparently that's is well, God knows what's going on there. God. But apparently it's back with the EFL, that one. But,
It'll be interesting to see what happens actually when, like you say, it was a couple of weeks off now. If we do get players like that back, because I can see 3-5-2 being a preferred formation. If you've got your three centre halves there and you've got Toffolo as left wing back and Pippa as right wing back. I know I bigged up playing Pippa on the left. And I think that does work in a 4-2-3-1 more of a formation. 3-5-2, I think he does struggle because you pushed up almost 10 yards further. And I think a couple of times last night he got beyond the 18-yard box line out wide, if you know what I mean, and he had to cut back in. Whereas if you're wanting your players to play on opposite flanks, they've got to kind of be cutting in to shoot from 18 yards. So I think if we're going to look at playing 3-5-2, I think he's better, obviously, back on right and Toffolo on left with your three centre halves, and then it's which three do you pick for the middle? You've got Hogg, Bakuna, O'Brien, Eiting if he's back. So all of a sudden, when as much as we've bemoaned lack of players over this season, when everybody's fit, when you start to analyse it that way, all of a sudden you've got a competition for places in some areas of the pitch, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
I think playing the younger players towards back end of the season, ideally, I think they probably would have liked to be in that situation now, where they could probably be doing it for a little bit longer.
Also, with this Danny Ward guy that I saw on bench, I've never heard of him.
I'm not sure, mate. I think he was at Waterboys. He must have snuck onto a bus. I've never seen him before.
Well, if you want to know about about Sorba Thomas, apparently he can play left wing back as well. So there's an option there for Sorba Thomas. If you read Brady's article on the man himself on the website, I believe, Brady. There we go. A nod to that. Right, let's have a look at the Dean Hoyle. Dean Hoyle did an interview with one of Danny Hoyle's mates from school, Felix Pate, I think he was called. I thought he did a decent job considering what he is, an Everton fan who's just interested in football statistics and recruitment models. I thought, he did a decent, made a decent account of himself. It was always going to be one where, though, Dean was obviously going to be able to, control specific narratives and whatnot about the interview because, obviously, it's a young lad he's doing it with. But on the whole, I thought they both came across quite well. We'll probably touch upon this briefly because it was more so last week's news, if you like. But what was the general feel that you got. Shall I say my general feel from it, and then you guys chip in, or do you want to guys jump in first? I'm not.
Yeah, go for
it. So yeah, the main thing that stood out for me, a lot of the stuff at the start is pretty much what Dean said on the podcast we did with us. You know, there's nothing groundbreakingly new there. What was pretty new was in terms of he talked a little bit more about the American investors, and I remember when he came and told us there were a couple of Americans involved, and the rumors were, you know, the guys that own Washington, etc. And at the time, it sounded more exciting to go with something like that. It always does, doesn't it? But when he explained it in terms of that, they would essentially take the debt or the loan stock, pay him back in full, and then put the loan stock back on Huddersfield Town and then charge double-digit interest. All of a sudden, you're looking at that and going, well, that's 61 million quid the club owe Dean Hoyle. If they're going to charge, and then they're on about securing assets as well, so buying other bits and bats as well. So all of a sudden, you're looking at potentially 6 to 7 million plus a year interest paying back on something which they've put back onto the clubs. Essentially, they're cream. You know, these guys sound like hedge fund managers maybe to me, and they're essentially skimming off 6, 7, 8 million pound profit a year on Huddersfield without really putting much in, and the parachute payments would probably be then used to fund a tilt-up promotion and go back. But once the parachute payments run out, that's when your worry is, because Huddersfield Town is not a money-making machine. Let's be honest. Huddersfield Town Football Club commercially, Sean did a great job taking it from where it was to where it is now. But Huddersfield's not exactly Monaco. You know, it's not a massively rich, affluent area whereby people just throw money at it willy-nilly. It's, you know, people work hard for what they've got, and they'll spend what they have. And Huddersfield doesn't make masses of money. So when that parachute payment runs out, they've either got to be incredibly creative or they've got to put more of their own money in. Otherwise, that club would go sinking further into debt. And that's when things would start to get a little bit problematic. So my take really was, I understand more why he went down the model he did with Phil. So I've got more respect for that. Well, I had respect anyway, but I've got more respect now for that decision he made, looking at, you know, what the potential other side was. So I thought fair play to Dean with that. I thought bits of the interview were maybe a little bit contrived, if that's fair to say. You know, there seemed a little bit like he wanted to get certain points across because of what maybe people have been saying online, which is fair enough, you know. But overall, I thought they both came across quite well. What about you guys? Let's shoot that across to you guys. And online as well, let us know what you thought of the Hoyle interview, and we'll pick out any bits that you guys post on there as well.
I think
in your own time.
Go on, Poz.
I was going to say, I think it were a decent interview. I think, you know, when it first came out, it was one of those. To me, it seemed more of a promotion of the Young Lads, you know, podcast and whatever he does than anything else. It was never. I think the lad probably didn't get out of it what he maybe wanted to get out of it. I think he probably shot himself in foot by asking online if anyone had any things that fans wanted to know from Hoyle, you know, to fire him in, because I would imagine that totally changed the script. I think Matt's right. We're very much led by Hoyle. He got across what he wanted to get across. There were points that if I were interviewing, I would have pushed him on quite a few points, you know, just to get a little bit more detail. He skirted around a couple of things where it would have been nice to get the meat on the bones. But, you know, that young lad's never going to be doing something like that. Or Hoyle's obviously doing him a favour in first place.
He shouldn't be expected to either, should he, really, to be fair? He's not a...
No, I mean, that's not Jeremy Paxman, is it? Let's be honest. You know, that's not his job.
He's a chest, is Jeremy Paxman, apparently, if you read online. But there we go.
Is it?
No, never liked it. Go on.
But yeah, there's little bits of snippets of information that came out. I think he mentioned that he were originally going to take his money back out over 3, and now it looks more like 6 to 7. He put a little bit of information in there about the remaining 25%. Did he say it was valued at about 1.4 million? So if that's a quarter of what the club was sold for, I mean, it might not be that. Just might be the deal.
Yeah, it's never always.
And got on that. But yeah, I think it would have been a little bit more exciting to sell to an American or a Chinese investor or a sheikh or something like that for a few years. But you know, look at Blackburn, as Hoyle said, and Wigan. You know, they did that. They went down that route, and look where that landed.
Yeah, so, apparently one of the guys at Charlton who the East Street Investments, apparently they were quite interested in us at one point. So you know, be thankful for not going down that route. Yeah,
I think it's tough, and it came off the back of 3 not bad season. First season you can class as successful because we stayed up, but it was still losing football pretty much every week, wasn't it? And then since he got ill, it just seemed to go downhill dramatically fast from then. It just shows really what sort of influence Hoyle had at the club. And if he were running the show pretty much on his own, it's not hard to understand why when he recovered or recovering from an illness such he had, he didn't want to get into that and take it on. So he did mention on there, I think, that the plan that Phil is doing, he would have done, very, very similar. So although, we've all been critical of Phil for sort of cutting the wage bill and everything like that, Hoyle said that he would have done that. Whether he would or not is a different matter. That's what he said. So you've got to take it at face value. I can't see why he'd lie. So yeah, I think it just appeases a little bit of the sort of the hatred that's gone towards Hoyle. I think a lot of people were sort of out to get him and saying it's ruined his legacy and everything like that. But as you've said, Matt, for me, I've always been a big Hoyle fan. He put his money in. No one else wanted to put it in. He's perfectly entitled to take it back. I think my only criticism was the speed in which you were taking it back, which now seems to have changed. So that's off to him for that. And we'll see where we are, after this parachute money has run out. But speaking to a few people at the club, sort of off the record, they seem to have a bit of a plan, and I think they're just literally trying to get through this season and through COVID. And I think the big reset will be this summer, as we've said many times on here. It's probably the biggest summer and we've said this many times as well, but it's probably the biggest summer. There's got to be some sort of statement of intent from front board, and if the plan works, and if these youth team players that are coming through are as good as what the clubs think they are, you never know. In 12 months' time, we might be sat here sort of being Barnsley and discussing potential, promotion. So hopefully it'll work out.
I think the biggest sadness for me that this guy has given us the best years of our life. He's given us stuff we'd never dreamed of, mate. We beat Man United. We got promoted and stuff. And this guy doesn't know if he wants to come and watch Huddersfield Town when we're back in the ground. And that is very sad.
Yeah, I mean, he has been watching the games, and we'll see. I do think, you can. I don't think it's a black and white answer. I think you can. We spoke about it, Matt. I've only read the snippets. I'd like to listen to the podcast for context. But yeah, I think you can be happy with what Dean did. Obviously, we were all chuffed what we did, and he took us to Premier League. We never expect that. I think you can question some of the stuff he's done, but I think there's plenty of reasons for that. Obviously, he's clarified some things in the podcast. Yeah, I don't know how to see it. I think it's one of them where we don't really know what's going on because, again, there's a lot of issues. I think we touch on it every week, as I'm sure our listeners know, but we went from being communicated with a lot when things were going well. Things didn't go so well because Dean was ill. And now it's kind of a little bit less. And I think it's all kind of related to that. Again, if Huddersfield Town were doing well, I don't think anyone would be bothered about what happened with Dean and Dean's deal, et cetera, et cetera. But because we're not doing well, people question it because it's like, well, is that the reason we're not doing well? And it's not. It's all kind of related. It's all different. I don't need to tell you guys because I know it might be a part of it. I think the thing is with Dean, we will know. Unfortunately, we probably will never find out the true extent because I think Phil might have touched on it. But when you sign contracts, normally when you sign contracts with chairman, there's non-disclosure agreements, so you can't name everything. So we never will know. I don't know. I think with that comment with Dean, I did hear that bit. I don't know how true that is, and I don't think people would turn on him because I think a lot of people are annoyed at Phil, and like I say, as we've said a million times, and there's plenty of caveats to that. It's not just Dean's deal, even if it has been extended. It's COVID, it's etc. So again, let's just get through this season, and we'll see when fans are back, and we'll see what team we've got on the pitch, and then I think we'll be able to judge the mood of Town fans really.
Yeah, I didn't really want to delay too much on that because, like I say, it's been last week's news and a lot of people have already had their say. If you have a look down at the Mac, there's some good threads on there actually on it.
People have got opinions on down at the Mac. I didn't know that.
Apparently so, yeah, apparently so. But there are actually there's some decent ones on there. To be fair,
surprising.
There's one or two decent posters on there who are quite balanced. One of them, I might ask him on here one day, but it's a bit of a weird conversation starter, isn't it? But
yeah, I'll tell you just a quick one, Matt. Sorry, but one big thing, and Brady, you brought it to our attention. Sounds like KSDL's going belly up, doesn't it? Which will be very interesting regarding the stadium and maybe full ownership by Huddersfield Town, you would hope.
Yeah, that was in the last report I saw, was that Huddersfield Town potentially taking over running of the stadium, not ownership, but running of the stadium.
That'd be cool.
To be honest, mate, I look at KSDL and I don't think they've done an amazing job there. They seem very obsessed with the HD1 project, which, come on, the ski slope's not exactly needed, is it, with Castleford and Manchester? Between the two, how many people ski between Castleford and Manchester? But some of the other things there, like the little music venue, I thought would have been quite good. Some of the eateries and takeaways. There's not a lot in Huddersfield. In terms of chain restaurants. I know the chain restaurants and people sometimes turn their nose up, but they're cheap and cheerful, aren't they? And there's not a lot really. And I thought something going on down there would have been quite good. And if you could link the town centre then to the stadium, it might be quite decent. Maybe on match day you'd be down there and having a couple of drinks, etc. The gas club's a bit. I don't know what's going on with it. No one knows what's going on with the gas club these days, do they? Yeah, but we don't know about the future, do we? About the gas club. So there's a lot going on, and KSDL at concerts in particular, they tended to be a bit of a money spinner early. And do you remember back in the day they had REM there, and there were absolutely thousands. Bon Jovi, they had some great concerts. And then all of a sudden, it got to about 2003. I think they had Elton John, Lulu, which was all right. And then there was nothing. They had Il Divo, which had to get cancelled, and then there was absolutely nothing for years under when Town were back sort of middling in League One and whatnot. There was nothing really going on, and it just felt like there's been like a missed year. And I think sometimes they blamed the summer rugby for it, but that's bollocks, because the fixture lists are only done a year in advance. Get things booked in, do you know what I mean? And then I'm sure Super League would work around stuff. It's rubbish, and I think they've taken the easy way out a lot of times. But yeah, so for me, more concerts, more things to do down there. The car park's huge. You could easily have loads of the Huddersfield food festivals up in town, but you could have beer festivals down there, in that space. There's all sorts. I know we joked, don't we, about how the when they set the fan zone up down there, and it looked like a scene from Chernobyl. It wasn't great, was it? But there's things they can do there, and it just needs somebody with a creative mind maybe to do something a bit different, and then hopefully more people will be down there, and it'll make money. But
I think, Matt, just coming in on that, obviously they were in that update that we're on. There were a meeting, the ATT and Cowshed Loyal Group also had a little bit of a meeting with Phil and stuff like that. And I think the overriding thing, without going into any details or anything which you said, is just watch this space on that, because they have got some ideas, but they're just being held back at the moment by the situation with the stadium. So if that sorts itself out with what's been reported, then I'd imagine that there might be some big changes going on there in the benefit for Huddersfield Town in the long run.
Good, and also there's the hotel's got an okay, hasn't it? The hotel's on its way,
I think. They're doing a few bits and bobs down there, and I think the ownership structure and how the rents work and income and stuff like that will change should it all go through, which it looks like it will do. So I think that'll be a massive positive thing moving forward.
I hope so. It's got potential down there for sure.
Oh.
Whose house? Wayne House. And Neil has joined us. So welcome, Neil.
The formation last night and the passing zones. Can we?
So Neil, welcome back to the pod. You've just joined us just in time, so we're just finishing off the boring stuff, really, and we're going to now have a reminisce over.
This lads, I just watched 5 minutes and it was boring, so there you go.
I bored myself, mate.
So
yeah, we had about 25 people watching. I think we've got about 6 now. But yeah, so let's reminisce about the good old days of Andy Takes That Chance. So question here, chaps. This is our 100th episode, but how many tracks have we done across YouTube and SoundCloud altogether? So that includes your warm-up shows, your cherry tree chat, Kosi, do you remember? Your post-match stuff at the Gas Club, some of the stuff Brady's done with the Kits and Laura Elford and the HTFC women.
So the pro.
Yep, all of it. Yeah, so including 1 or 2 other little bits and bats that we've done.
Probably 200.
Close.
170.
Oh, come on, let's see who gets closest. Let's all have a guess. Ready?
176.
Pause.
Are we talking about in thousands here?
No. So Brady is closest. It's 175. So Brady was one off. So we've actually had 175 pieces of crap dropped on the internet, if you like.
We're talking about how many people have listened.
It's before. No. Thankfully, there's a bit more than that. So the question is, how did it start? So I'm sure people have always wondered, how did you start a podcast?
Or maybe the worst season ever in Huddersfield Town recent history. Everyone, is that how it started?
But we'll draw it back a little bit further. So it started really sort of 2009ish, really. Me, myself, and a chap called Johnny Hildred used to run a blog called HTFC Online. I don't know if anyone will probably no one will remember that. He did a load of graphical work and I did the blog, but I got a job with Huddersfield as a scout in 2011. That dried up. And then, do you remember when Jack Hunt went on his big helmet spree when he called a load of Town fans helmets back in 2013? Well, what happened then was anybody who was associated with the club had to sign a form which said we will not discuss anything about Huddersfield Town on social media. So there was a bit of a gagging order from everybody. So from the club. So what happened then is we changed it into Thrice Champions, and it was taken down a different route. And then when the academy halted in 2017, I thought, you know what, let's get back to it. Let's do something a bit different. And in 2018, some of us spoke to like Ball Street and a couple of others to get things rolling, and it went down a separate route, and it ended up splintering off. And two people that I turned to first and foremost on this podcast, firstly was actually Neil. I thought we'll try and persuade Neil and Kosi. And let's just say one of you was a bit more game for it than the other, I reckon, initially.
My wages weren't good enough then, Matt. I want that.
What, you mean you get paid for this?
Well, the terms weren't good enough, mate. It were like, I was going to get a free transfer to another pod, but Matt sorted me out with some chocolate, mate, and we're sorted.
Glass of water and a chocolate bar, biscuits.
I have to get on to my agent about this.
So I just remember. Do you remember back in the day? We used to sit.
The one thing I remember that first podcast, we played. I think it was Leon, and we beat him. And De Potter scored, and I thought this is going to be ace. We're going to have a good season. And
it was just as Michael Heffley had left. So Michael Heffley had just left, and we did our first episode was called the Heffcast because we did a bit of we were all a bit sad. And I just remember being in that room. We had loads of rubbish microphones that were propped up in pint glasses and steins and stuff because we didn't have microphone holders, and a 10-year-old laptop, and on a rickety table just in this back room where I'm sat now. And I remember being sat there, and in my head all along I was thinking, Kosi's got all this radio leads experience. He'll present it, and we'll be fine. And we sat there, and I remember pressing record, and we all just looked at each other, didn't we? And you two looked at me and went, "Are you going to say something?" And I was like, "Oh, I just thought," and I was like, "I thought Kosi was going to do it," and we were so unprepared at that point, and it actually didn't end up too bad.
We used to have
a change, Matt.
we used to like get there for about 6 o'clock, and sometimes leave about 10:30. What didn't you record a pod with Dean Hoyle and it didn't record, or was that Phil? Which one?
We'll come through to.
It was a 24-hour job.
Oh, the Phil one. We'll come through to that because I've got Neil's been busy away, haven't you, with your AMC stuff, and you've also got us some videos to listen to, and I'll loop some of those through us. And what we'll do is we'll have a walk through the podcast episodes, and so I've got a question for you. Can anybody remember? So what I've done is I've created a number of heritage, like, rugby league and cricket, you have heritage numbers, don't you? Whereby instead of squad numbers, you end up with heritage numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I've done it in order of who spoke on the podcast. So obviously, because we sat there and I had to sort of front the, not front, but present the episode. I was the first one to say, welcome to Andy Takes That Chance. So I've got number 1. Neil is number 2 as the second person to ever speak on the podcast. Kosi's number 3. Can you remember who the 4th person to ever speak on Andy Takes That Chance was for a Scooby snack?
Was it Danny G?
Nope.
Were it your missus saying, Matt, what the hell are you doing in there?
I need to hang the laundry up, yeah. No, it wasn't. No.
Reece Dinsdale?
No, it was Ollie Fisher. So we did episode 1, and then
Milan.
After episode 1, Kosi did the post-match show in the Gas Club, and he had Ollie Fisher as his guest. In episode 2, we were joined by a 4th person, So we went from 3 people to 4. You guys will know who that is, and he has been kind enough to send us this message.
Hiya, I'd just like to congratulate Matt and the team on being the 100th Huddersfield Town podcast, or 100 episodes of the podcast. I'm not sure which it is, but either way, well done. I think in this day and age, you guys provide a fantastic service to Huddersfield Town fans who have just sat through 90 minutes plus of a Town game, watching them play like an absolute bunch of clowns, and then are happy to sit through another 2 hours of fans dissecting why Huddersfield Town have played like an absolute bunch of clowns. So, fair play to you. I think you're all just bloody weird, to be honest with you. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
He's not wrong.
So, Danny G.
Danny G, peak Danny G for me, and that they were peak Huddersfield Town, but that season when we beat Wolves, match of the day 2, and they put that video together, and that was the last time we were ever good in the history of football, I think. Do you remember it? It just had that graphic said, he's here, he's there.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, and some of the...
It's such a shame we haven't got time to do with that website, that HTFC World, man. I sometimes go on it now and just look at something, and you can, just by reading his reports, you can remember the game. Some of them were absolutely hilarious.
This the Peter Crouch one from like 1999, 2000 is still brilliant. Where the...
To be honest, the biggest challenge at start was getting near his car parking space to your house and get there before he got there. He's there.
Oh, you can get here now, yeah. It's
like Jim Bergerac in that open top car, wasn't it?
He also used to park 3 miles away and walk here and get a lift back to it, didn't he? And so after that, Reece Dinsdale became our first, shall we say, celebrity? I know he'll hate the phrase, but he's popular, sort of celebrity Town fan that we did in episode 4.
Poz away at Man City.
Yeah, Pozza, you were number 6 here. I've got down. So you were.
When we did after Man Cite, we did a bit of a soundbite after a game, didn't we? Do you remember by Turnstiles?
Yeah,
a samba.
Keep your heads up, lads. We've just been Dick 6-1, but we'll be all right this season. We'll turn it around.
I think
none of us believed that, did we?
Didn't get invited back for about 6 months, so my views were obviously way wide of the mark.
Oh dear. And then, guys, what became after that? The first international break, and it was episode 7. Was probably one of my. I think this is probably one of the most fun podcasts to do, and I managed to take a small snippet from this, and it shows how incredibly professional, prepared, preppy we were back in the day. How adult we were, mature, all the things. And when we did our Huddersfield Town worst 11, initially we called it the Whoppers and Weapons.
I have an idea what's coming here.
And here we go.
Paul McStay's dad was a bit of a bruising Glaswegian, and he's threatened them, you're not having Paul unless you take Willie. And I think I think.
Keep going.
Knew what were coming then.
So Neil, Huddersfield Town ended up receiving Willie.
That's worse. That's been dicked a few times since, haven't we?
Yeah, we got criticised badly for that podcast because it was negative, because we were digging players up out of nowhere, weren't we?
And Danny's number 1 right back in this slot. Oh, hang on, still going. Willies and slots, it's going wrong.
I'm going to say I had Booty, and that's not going to help, is it?
Right, I think that's enough for that. So you can see back then how professional we were with and growing up. But that Huddersfield Town worst 11 was a lot of fun.
4 hours pod, that wasn't it? 5 hours or something.
We named about 45 worst 11s.
And I just remember, so I could easily get up that team. Can you guys remember who was in that worst 11?
Tim Clark.
Yep.
Yeah.
My man Willie.
Yep.
Left back. I don't know. Vince Chapman.
I think he was yours, but not in the end.
Well, I'm still going with it then. See mine. Gordon Tucker.
Yep, he was captain.
Andy Duggan.
Nope.
Well, they were in mine. And I'm keeping him there because he was shit. It's an hard
he was not. I'm just getting the final one.
Wasn't he?
Who's that? Sorry?
Nigel Callaghan.
Yep, he played on the wing on the left.
He never did. Mark Barham.
Nope. Do you want me to just name it?
Yeah.
So the team was Tim Clark in goal, Willie McStay at the right back, Kevin Sharp at left back. Gordon Tucker was partnered by Eddie Youds, the shop steward. The central midfield combo, we had a split actually. John Kelly won out of the central midfielders, obviously, and there was a split between Kevin Lampkin and Marcus Browning for the second slot. And then on the wing, Tyrone Thompson was on the right, Nigel Callahan on the left, and up front was Alex Dyer and Alan Lee.
Alan Lee.
I think Neil's campaign for Alan Lee, I think, saw that one home.
I wasn't letting that go.
Not a fan.
Dear Carby went around them days. We had high hopes before that, didn't we?
Do you know what? If you were to do this again, you would probably think
it won't be far off.
Dear Carby and maybe Alex Pritchard might not be too far off on a pound-to-pound value.
They'll all be 2018 plus, won't they?
They won't be very good. So, the first time that we really sort of made waves outside of this room, well, not made waves, that's probably the wrong saying, but the first time we picked up outside of this room and things kicked off was in episode 10, really. And there's a gentleman with a message who joined us in this back room, and we got to question him on a certain radio station.
Hi lads, just thought I'd send you a quick message to say congratulations on 100 podcasts. 100 podcasts. It's almost as many radio shows as we do at BBC Radio Leeds, almost as many. And I thought the best thing to do would be to send you a nice, warm, heartfelt message from the home of West Yorkshire football, which I'm sure you'll all appreciate. Ellen Road.
Shithouse does that, hasn't he?
Well done, lads. Podcasts are all brilliant, very much needed in the current climate as well. So I know that people fully appreciate what you guys are doing and trying to do, and just keeping that match day feeling going when it's very difficult for us all. Hopefully, you'll all be back in very soon, and hopefully you'll be able to see the Corberan army march on up the championship table whilst just down the road along the M62. They'll be watching Premier League. Well done, lads.
Johnny's had his last podcast with us. See you.
Yeah, I think 10 and out, I think there, Johnny.
As soon as he sent it back, I thought, done us here, hasn't he? Brilliant.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, fair play. But yeah, why not? Let's out him as a chesty while he's here. So, we'll get our own revenge.
Matt, I think, but just to step in, I remember trying to do some of them Gas Club post games. Remember how many times I come to you when I was drunk on a Saturday night? How do you log it up? I remember getting Russ Fotherby, Jimmy Mack on, and he were absolutely steaming, and every word was an F or a B, and it was like had to be cut. And then, like back at Gas Club, I don't know if everyone knows it, with that car park, I was getting further away, just trying to get away from everyone, because how everyone was like swilled up in there, and it was getting anyone who couldn't go a minute without swearing. It was so difficult.
Just swore yourself then as well.
I know, it says me, Sedets and stuff, but yeah, they were fun times and as well. But God, it makes me wish so much how we were back in there and having a game. But it's me and Neil, you did one, Neil, didn't we? After I think Leeds beat us, didn't we, in that derby? And but that were good though. I hope we can go back to them. The rawness of that you can't beat that, can you? 20-30 minutes after the game, we've found with our live ones, you get a different kind of emotion instead of kind of a day after, don't you?
You're not quite as composed, are you? And you're more likely to lose it a little bit.
That's an excuse anyway.
But yeah, so number 6, Dan Porrick. Number 7, Elliot Wheat Bowen. I'm sure we'll all remember where I tagged on after Man City away, and he gave us the infamous line, "Relentless machine," didn't he? Bless you, Elliot. Jamie White came and joined us as well. Jamie did the first original Huddersfield Town podcast down at the Mac, yeah. Stu Foster had to come and sort the sound levels out because I was an idiot for the first 7 or 8 podcasts. So Stu came and helped us out, which was massive at the time. So thanks again for that, Stu. Ash Heptonstall was one who Ollie brought down, and I think him and Ollie were swilled up once, and that put paid to a couple of. I think Ollie broke our swear filter on that one, didn't he? Dan Fowler, Simon Taff helped us with Cash Bang Wallop when we needed some help on financial matters. Yeah. Do you remember episode 20, guys, when David Wagner left and the sort of emotion from the king leaving, if you like? And at that point, you're thinking, we've just started this podcast a few months ago, episode 20. David Wagner's left. Our peak's gone, and it's now one slide down.
Put a fork in it, we're done. We should have stopped there and then, shouldn't we?
It was a difficult podcast that I remember. I think it's one of those, sometimes in life, you remember when some big news, I don't know, someone was assassinated or whatever. You'll never forget when David Wagner left. I'll never forget it. It's just like, I just didn't look for it.
I'll never listen to Iron Sky by Paolo Nutini ever again. Same. I love it, but that video you put together after that were a phenomenal video.
Yeah, Danny, that was before I was any good with them. So I pretty much went, Danny, please take this video and do 13 seconds to 24 seconds here and cut. So, fair play to Danny G. I was really bossy with that video because I really wanted it to be good because it was David Wagner. But yeah, sometimes when Town are really, really crap, I really sadly, because it's my video, throw that David Wagner video on sometimes and just sit there and watch it and just think, and do the same with the end of, there's one with at the end of the season, the goals at the end of the season in the Premier League video as well. And sometimes you just look at it and think it's never going to be the same again. Question for you guys, because Poz is asking me for the list of people in how many people we've had on the podcast. And I'm going to send it through to him in WhatsApp, but so I'll throw this out as your second quiz question. Brady's 1-0 up on you all, and Brady gets really angry and competitive when we start doing quiz questions. And
I have to watch losers every week on the pitch. I need to have some winning.
So how many people have we had as a voice on the podcast? I'm talking Town fans here. So people that Brady interviews from other clubs have not included. So how many voices? So I've included Chris Carter in that, who sings the intro and outro for us. I'd have included Fiery Breeze as well, who do our intro, Russ Bathgate, and Ted Chips Missis, who did the song that we used at the end as well. So all the songs, all the people that spoke on the podcast, how many people have we had? So that includes your Reece Dinsdales, Johnny Buckens, etc., the guests that we've had.
Oh, 50.
Neil goes 50. Have we got higher, lower? Who have we got next?
72.
72, Kosi goes. Who's next? Simon?
61. Meet in the middle.
61. 61. Pozza?
I was genuinely going to say 50, so I'm going to go at 47.
Brady?
Great mind, son. Great mind.
67.
60. Bloody hell. So, Brady, how many out were you last time on the total podcast?
1.
You won out again. 68 people we've had on this podcast who've spoken.
Guarantee, knowing Brady like we do, you can absolutely guarantee that he has been counting and just got it wrong.
Told you that confidence, mate.
There you go. So these people. So we'll come and we'll talk about these people. But I've sent you in WhatsApp, Poz, just so you can have a have a look. So yeah. So after that, so 25. So Neil, I'm going to come to you now because we brought in a feature very early on, and the best thing about bringing features in is when they're organic and they develop from conversations. And I just remember in the early days we were probably a bit more unkind to people as what we are now. And if someone was playing rubbish, we'd maybe call them a whopper or a weapon. And what grew out of that, maybe not so much a player, but maybe somebody who'd said, it's more likely media, because we did encounter a lot of whoppers and weapons from the likes of Danny Mills, etc. What was born out of that was indeed the Whopper of the Week, which went on to Danger Zone. And in episode 25, probably the best winner, the guy who won what was then called the Whopper del Rey, after the obviously Copa del Rey, the Spanish Cup. So the winner of the Whopper del Rey and the title, who won the title of the Ballon d'Or, was the kid from Wolves who suggested that Huddersfield Town should take up archery, and also another number of absolute nonsense that he came up with. The Whopper of the Week, Neil, was something that we don't do now, obviously, because things move on and everything moves on and your attitudes change to certain things, etc., etc.
It is podcast now.
Yeah, but you kind of get to a certain stage where you think, okay, maybe we can drop that in favor of something else. But doing those videos with Danny G about Wilfred Zaha, his diving and other things were quite fun in the early days.
To be honest, looking back at it all, not just the Whopper stuff, just all of it were good fun, wasn't it? And I think, personally speaking, I mentioned this earlier on chat, personally speaking, for me, it came at a really sort of important time, because it probably aided me in not losing the plot completely when I were and people would have known at the time I would probably be my lowest point then. But you do the old, as I talk about now at work a lot, putting the mask on and hiding it. And the podcast we you two at the start was one of the things that sort of really helped keep me going, to be honest, and keep my head on straight and facing forward. So it's I've got a lot to be thankful for the podcast. And on the back of that, going to various games and meeting various people, it got me back into work and to where I am now. So the podcast is much more than us having sat here having the crack and having a laugh. And don't get me wrong, that's a massive part of it, and the serious points and the digging people out and whatever else. But behind all that, it really helps people. And I think people, not just us either, people away from the podcast sort of look forward to it. And obviously with you lads now taking it on, they look forward to tuning in every week. You get, when you look on, the same people comment every week, don't they?
Yeah, and the people that, Kosi, the people that have stuck with us all the way through, I don't want to fast forward it too far because we've got a couple of people to mention in them, but some of the people that got involved with us, the tweeters, messages, tweet questions, etc. It's invaluable, really, when you put a podcast together, because when you put a podcast together, you kind of think, oh, no one's going to really listen to this, and then you're kind of happy when 100 people do, and then when 1,000, 2,000 start listening to it, you're like, wow, this is a bit surreal, is this? And then the comments come in, and you really appreciate people who, and it's not just a case of people kissing your backside or anything, but people who support you, and people who, when things don't go quite well, people just go, it's all right, chalk it off, and we're looking forward to the next one. And people who get involved really and drive the topics as well. And, even if it's not so much a positive, something positive, we had a lot of comments about the technical quality. See, I can't even do it. The sound quality, but that helped us. We went and we improved it. We got sponsorship through Magic Rock, and, again, another town fan, Richard Burhouse, really helped us. And, the people that, I probably wouldn't still do this if it wasn't for people who got involved with the podcast and helped drive it on, to be honest.
People like Andy Kay as well. He jumped in, didn't he, at one point and helped us out and class.
Helped everyone out by silencing Kosi Ryoki. I think that's what it did. But it's huge.
I really appreciated was going to the games and a number of times, like, I walking into bars afterwards and people, you're on that podcast, aren't you? I love it. My dad loves it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's never been about like the viewing figures and listening figures for me. It was all about just me kind of having a bit of a therapy. Someone tweeted us today saying it's brilliant therapy for them. And that's the way I saw it. I thought we were kind of really like to kind of get it off the chest and stuff, because obviously I've always kind of been on radios, phone-ins and stuff. So I really kind of appreciated it. And if you think in that season when we started, we were so bad and it was so difficult God, I walked out so many games at halftime and stuff, and we were so bad. And that's probably why the danger's on, because everyone were having a pot shot at us because we were, we were fodder, weren't we?
Well, that was it. Yeah, that was it.
I think the thing for me that really stood out was, and I don't want to go on it too long, but the fact that we used to be there for 4 or 5 hours most weeks doing this, and we'll put maybe 90 minutes out content-wise, but the rest of the time we just sat having a laugh and joking about stuff and
stroking my cat half the time, weren't you?
Oh, we're just but where we'd properly done the William McStay stuff, where you just completely lost your shit for half an hour.
But it was so
compose yourself. And I remember that one. It might have been that one where we all completely lost it, and I literally couldn't talk for about an hour without just bursting out laughing. You know, when you start uncontrollable laughing.
Yeah, and like children at school, weren't we, in the back of the class?
Ridiculous. Well, you were like kids, but yeah, with class.
Because we'd lost the game. We always lost, and then you're dragging yourself on there on a Tuesday night, and you're just thinking, how much more can you just say without kind of going on about it? So it gave me a lot of kind of.
That's where the features helped, didn't it? As well. That's where digging out media and Jason Cundy, etc. That's where that helped with that, I think, and help keep it, help make it different to, to what was probably the club did, etc. But yeah. Let's move it on and try and bring in Simon and Brady, because obviously we've not got to the point where these guys, Poz rejoined a bit later on, didn't you? But 29, the first sort of big interview that we got, Neil, I'll let you tell the story, because I think you handled the DMs, didn't you, in Twitter? But the first big person we got on really was Bobby Madley, and he was. I thought a referee would turn up. He'd be a bit arrogant, a bit aloof, but he was great, wasn't he? He was such a really engaging guy, and his football knowledge was immaculate as well. You know, he's so surprising with the level of detail they go into, and he was great, was Bobby, wasn't he?
I think the thing that came across with Bobby was you get these where people say, "Oh yeah, he supports so and so," and do they really? And yeah, they really do. Both him and one, they're massive Town fans, and it was literally just a simple approach to get him on and to sort of give us a different angle. Because obviously, on podcast and on any podcast throughout the country that's a team podcast like this, let's be fair, one of the people who get a lot of stick every week are referees out there. So it was good to get a referee on and to
deserving sometimes,
a proper referee's perspective. And I think it was a great listening, one of my favourite ones, to be honest.
Little did we know, the national thing it blew up into. Well, obviously,
he told us, didn't he? He told us everything about the thing that eventually they spoke about openly. He actually told us all about that and asked us not to say it. And obviously, we didn't.
Yeah.
You know, he's told you in confidence. You do keep that in confidence, don't you? But you know, when it did come out, it's one of those, to be honest, you're quite proud of yourself for not opening up and telling people, because it was obviously a big story to him, and you could tell that he felt better just by telling us that story. Yeah. But his insight into refereeing and stuff, I thought it was first class with Bobby.
I thought it was phenomenal. That's still available on our SoundCloud. It's not one of those where you have to listen to it at the week either. You know, it's quite a decent talk, I would say, given by Bobby. You know, don't listen to us, listen to Bobby. It was a really good one. I think it had over 1,000 listens, but I thought that was definitely one of the better ones that we managed to do. And then came the summer. Obviously, Huddersfield went down. At this point, you know, we're doing different intros because, you know, with this silly music going on about going down, etc., end of the road, blah blah blah, just to try and put smiles on faces because it was a bit depressing.
They were horrendous.
But
Jan signed and it was a comedy, really.
Oh, Jan, bless him. And the salt in the soup. Do you remember that one? Goals of the salt in the soup. Classic Jan. And we did some summer specials. And I think at that point we were just kind of four guys three or four guys in a room, weren't we? And then we just kind of thought, do you know what? We could do something here and get some more voices in. You know, we could maybe speak to some ex-players.
Basically.
Yeah, so we could speak to, and we could, because there was nothing really Town style that had done this. You know, there weren't, you know, speaking to ex-players. You know, you look at the Town's preview and, you know, on YouTube now, Town's preview and post-match stuff. We were doing that years ago, you know, in terms of speaking to people and bringing them in, etc. And the first one that we got was great, and we had, I think that elevated it a little bit, and we got a couple of, I think 2,500 listens on SoundCloud and another 500 on YouTube. And the chap himself has sent us Mr. as Danny G used to call him, Mr. Ron Seal has sent us a message as well.
Hi, this quick message for And He Takes That Chance podcast from me, Sean Jarvis, here at Leicestershire County Cricket Club. Just to sort of say congratulations on your, I guess, reaching your maiden century. Well done, fellas. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to tuning in future.
Great.
Based on that thing, he didn't try and sell anybody anything.
I don't think I can answer it again, but obviously we did an interview with Sean when he left, and it was very emotional. That very, very emotional, and I was proud that we did it because I thought the club were a disgrace how they handled the departure of Sean Jarvis, and I were proud of us for giving him the platform and the send off I thought he deserved. So yeah,
that was got obviously every time we open we go, it's about Andy's Man Club in it. But when we did the first Sean Jarvis podcast, that was the Thursday night, and the following Sunday, Sean's nephew killed himself. So that sort of quite a stark reminder of what real life is. And I'd already approached the club by then about doing stuff for Andy's Man Club, and I think that sort of catapulted us into getting loads of stuff involved with club. And Sean were a real driver for that, and still is.
I don't mean to throw a joke in now, Neil, after that, but you were never off the pitch at this point.
As well.
Yeah. You were never off the pitch at this point. You're on the pitch more than Isaac and Benza at this point in his career.
You had more value for money on pitch from me.
Yeah. So again, we did really well in that summer. Something really important I find is the connection between the local media and the supporters in the club. And Blake Welton had absolutely butchered everything by being an absolute useless cretinous. I almost stopped myself from swearing there, but I thought it was dreadful, and the arrogance that he left with, to say that Huddersfield fans weren't ready for 21st century media was just an absolute disgrace on the part of somebody who's just nothing more than a blogger and an article filler on Sky Sports. But we got in. We were quite. He's all right, you know what I mean. But we managed to get in somebody who did a decent job, who's done no more than a decent job, who's repaired a lot of that nonsense that he broke. And he's also sent us a message. See if anybody gets the movie reference that he uses at the end as well as a bonus point. So this is your third point.
100 episodes of Andy Takes That Chance. Fantastic work, everyone. Congratulations to everyone concerned. That's Matt, Kosi, Neil, Brady, Snuffy, Al, Leo, Little Mo, Cheeks, Boney Bob, Cliff. You've all done brilliant work over the last few years, bringing top-level fan coverage on Huddersfield Town to a Terriers fan base who, let's face it, have deserved something good to talk about over the last few years. 100 episodes is a brilliant achievement, and you should all be rightly proud of the work you've done. Here's the next 100, guys.
That was indeed Mr. Chicken, if anybody was unsure of that. But he's done some great work, and that was fun bringing Stephen in initially, wasn't it, as well?
I'd buy an Examiner now. I've got £1.30 is on a Saturday, but his articles are that good. I'll buy it again, mate. So the loving is mutual, Mr. Chicken.
Absolutely.
When he came in that night when we were sat there where you are now, Matt, you could just tell straight away with a good guy and he was next level up.
Yeah, his sense of humor. He's got a quirky sense of humor, and he uses that a lot in his articles as well. And I don't think everyone gets it who's a Town fan, but I think me and Brady, because we're geeks, we kind of spot it, don't we, Brady? The little quirkiness in there, and there is some good stuff. And did anybody get the film reference for the point?
It's got to be taking a piss out of Brady. I don't know what it is, but
no, I don't.
Why has it got to be taking piss out of me, Potter?
Because I saw your face when he went through names. You look like, that were about me. So I just thought, is that a cue for Brady?
All right, quiet, Snuffy. Does anybody get the reference? 5 seconds. Anybody? Film, early 1990s. Macaulay Culkin. Anyone?
Home Alone. No,
it's Home. No, it's Home Alone 2. Ah. So there you go. It's from Home Alone 2 when it's the shower scene.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
when he's in the shower, doesn't he? Yeah, with the angels in Dirty Face. But anyway, So at this point, we then got Oggy on as well. Oggy's sent a WhatsApp and said congratulations. He's had a busy time. Radio Leeds and Look North and everything, especially with Chris Wilder leaving Sheffield United. He sends his congratulations, and then it was the big one really, which put us again into more ears, if you like, and that was when we got Dean Hoyle. And I've never really been that nervous before doing a podcast. I remember just looking out the window, and I think they pulled up in I think Danny drove Dean over, and he had a Fiesta or something, and just popped out, and he just looked like two regular blokes, father and son, just hopping across the road, not a Huddersfield Town legend, if you like, just coming, into some cul-de-sac in Leeds. And then in he came, and I remember asking him if he wanted a drink, and he was like coughing. I'm like going, shit, we haven't really got any decent coffee. Just got this stupid sachet of Nescafe. And he's like, oh, it's all right, I'll be fine. And there's me just shaking, he's trying to stir his coffee because Dean Hoyle's in my back room. And that was unbelievable. And I was genuinely nervous when we had Dean Hoyle in, and that went on for hours. And to be honest, the idea of that podcast wasn't to, at the time, because there were no real details about the sale of the club, really, because it was all, and we asked at the start, and he just said, look, NDAs, can't really say anything. So we just kind of took it for hours and about the fun, over the 10 years and the journey, the stories of Lee Clark, Simon Grayson, Mark Robbins, Chris Powell. And it was just such
there 4 hours that night.
It was so much fun, wasn't it? Listening to all the little inside stories, and it was brilliant. And the Wagner years in particular, do you know how close he came to losing David Wagner, and then describing David Wagner as somebody who would like to go out on a night out, chat to all the girls, and at the end, when all the girls think they're in there, we'll go, thank you very much, I'm off home to my wife, that kind of thing. There's some great analogies and great conversations in there, and that, and Dean he was so sad, but even over here, we remember hanging loads of Town shirts up in the background so we could have pictures with him, which is so pathetic when you look back at it. But that was so fun, doing the Dean Hoyle one, and it was great. And it was, like I say, it was never designed, was it, to sort of quiz him on the sale. It was more of a look back over 10 years and a thank you, really, for taking us from League One to the Premier League.
I think one of the things that stands out for that, and you lads will remember it clear as day, is when he actually showed us a photograph on his phone of what he was like when he was in hospital. And when you look at that picture, that was a real sort of stark reminder of how ill he was. And, he nearly wasn't here. So I think, yeah, we got a lot of stick for that podcast for not probing enough and not asking enough and not digging enough. But end of the day, you can't make somebody talk about what they don't want to talk about. And as Matt says, it was very much a sort of celebration of what he'd done for the club. And let's be fair, he hasn't done a bad job, has he?
No, absolutely not. And that actually, just short of 10,000 listens for that one, Poz. You were asking about some of the most listened to podcasts. I remember just short of 10,000, and that was phenomenal for us at the time to go from 800 listeners a week or something to 10,000 for that, and having it all over Huddersfield media, everyone writing about it in the Examiner, all the message boards, some nice, some not so nice. And but it was never intended for that. It was just a bit of fun, get together, have a bit of fun, and that's really what the podcast was. More so at the time, was just three idiots having a laugh, really, wasn't it?
We always said, didn't we, that the thing about this was that it didn't, to us, we really didn't give a shit how many people listened to it. If there were 10,
we had fun, didn't we?
Yeah, if 10 people had tuned in and enjoyed it, happy days, because we enjoyed doing it.
Yeah,
and that was it for me.
And I think the first one where we had to do things a bit serious was from this guy next, and we'll probably get some shit for this message as well. But who cares?
Just a quick message to everybody involved with Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Just like to say congratulations on your 100th episode. Keep up the good work and the fantastic job that you've done keeping the content coming out during the pandemic. Well done to all.
That is our fearless leader, Mr. Hodgkinson there.
There's only one Phil Hodgkinson one we can talk about for me.
The first one.
Huddersfield Town have been in, so it's COVID, we're back, and the boys are back on the pitch. We're excited. We're not there, but we're excited. We've got us iFollow on. We're being warned by that Scouser. That's a brilliant thing. And then that dramatic music that way, piracy. And then Huddersfield Town play Wigan Athletic. And quite simply, it were horrendous. It were absolutely horrendous. And we knew Phil were coming on the next day. And
what did he do though that night? Well, this is jumping forward a bit, but what did Phil do that night?
Tell us, can't you?
Poz got slaughtered.
He did. I only asked him if he were all right, and he blocked me.
Deserved.
Oh, lad. No, he did go a bit. It did all get a bit funny that, and I remember that night. There's some. You look back and some of the tweets that he put out and what he said to people. You look back and I'm sure he does as well. Cringe at what he said and stuff. But it's a little bit like we've just said doing the live pod 20 minutes after a match. If you're in that zone, you're in that moment, and if you're on social media, that's one of the pitfalls for it. Once it's said, it can't sort of take. Do you know what? It would be so easy for Phil to not then do that podcast following Mark.
We'd advertised it, haven't we? Phil Hodgkinson on straight after the game tomorrow, and it would about a Sunday morning, like 10 o'clock morning.
Yeah, breakfast. Yeah.
And we'd advertised it, and I'll be honest, I half expected him to pull and not do it, but to be fair play to him, he come on.
Wait a minute before I put it on.
and on pod, I said to him on pod that day that you probably shouldn't have done what you've done. Talk us through it, and he backed himself. And to be honest, I expected him to back himself because he's up there, isn't he? So
and he had his kit on with PH, which everyone loved.
Did that bit of trolling, didn't he? But let's go back to the original point before Kosi derailed us there with the first initial one. So Phil came to, this is when we did it at my house in this back room again. And I don't know if you guys remember, I think Kosi, don't think you did the Dean one, did you? But you did the Phil one. You did one and not the other. I think you were.
I did the Dean one. I don't think I did the first Phil one, man.
So you were there. So it was me, Neil, and Phil and Dave Threlfall-Sykes in this room. And I remember there was a Windows update had just come out. And I was using a 10-year-old laptop, which was my other half's, because I have a PC tower which sits upstairs, and we used to plug it into this laptop to record. And I remember at about 6:15, and he was due at like 7:30. It went 2 Windows updates. It's like, yeah, that'll be right. So did it, and then left it in the corner. And then Phil arrived, and in his huge Range Rover, he had a driver in the Range Rover and everything. It was very different to Dean. Phil and Dave Threlfall-Sykes walked in. I think Dave was there as a minder a little bit, but Dave was really nice. Phil came in. I thought, right, let's set up. Looked at it, 3%. And I was like, oh my God. And we sat there for, was it about 2 hours, Neil?
No.
Until it was longer, wasn't it?
We're near 4.
We sat there, and I remember him. I was every 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Do you want me to order some pizzas in, or do you want me to order some food from Deliveroo and stuff? I'll get you another drink. And Phil's so polite. Just went, no, it's all right, mate. Don't worry about it. And then he picked out his phone and rang somebody and went, can I reschedule it was like a PT session, personal trainer session in the morning, because he was going to be late home. I was sat there, felt like such a dick, well, this laptop, and it finally worked after 4 hours, but we actually had quite a good chat with him beforehand, didn't we? And I think Phil gets a lot of stick for how people perceive him to be, but I think once you actually speak to him one-to-one, he's actually quite a decent bloke, isn't he? He's just a bloke, but you can separate the chairman and the person if you like, which is fine. But as a person, I actually thought Phil was sounder. And to be honest, for him to sit there for 3 or 4 hours while some dickhead faffs around with a 10-year-old laptop so they can ask him a load of questions, I just thought that was so much more polite than he ever needed to be. And I'll always say thanks for Phil for hanging around, and Dave as well, because the laptop was a disgrace. And that at that point was where we went, do you know what, we need to get some sponsorship and get some proper equipment. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, we probably had a 4-hour chat before we recorded, and then another 2 when we recorded, another 2.5.
It was crazy. He left at you left at midnight, didn't you? And I remember I went upstairs afterwards, and Rachel was kicking off with me, going, "What have you been doing all night?" I was like, "It's your bloody laptop." I just left it down. But that was great. But over 10,000 people listened to that, which was phenomenal, really. And okay, I think we got 12 months later, we ended up getting some. At the time, everyone was like, that's great, thank you. Interview's good. And then 12 months later, I think a few people tried to make out they had a problem with it, with questions that we didn't ask.
Because we're not like the Premier League.
If people do listen to it, we do ask. But when somebody says non-disclosure agreement legally, there's not much they can say. So it is what it is. But
the first one, Matt,
now anyway, so it's all right.
A comment that had come after. Were it that first one that he said he were at the squash club? That sounded.
Yeah. So yeah, if we were the ones who uncovered Phil wasn't at 10-1 Man City. If you want to scoop, and even then, if you look at the third one, which Kosi was on about, I asked him. I was set up really by someone, but that I asked him, "Are you still okay with the Cowleys?" Just expecting him to go, "Yeah, no worries. Looking forward to next season." And we got a really funny answer, and then in my head, I'm going, "What have we just asked?" Because at this point, he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to answer that question," and I was like. In my head, I'm like, what did I just ask? I've only just asked if everything's, you're all right. It's pretty much a, you're all right, mate, kind of comment. And it was a very strange refusal to back them. And at that point, I was thinking, oh, the toast, these two. And I was like, nah, he won't, surely. And then, lo and behold.
That's good news today, isn't it, Portsmouth? That means they're not on our screen anymore. So well done, Portsmouth, for giving him a job so we don't have to see him again.
You slags. But anyway. So Simon, you joined us as our 23rd, the Andy Booth of the podcast, number 23 in episode 39. And one of the most popular episodes we did was episode 43 when we beat Hull City. Can you remember what culinary delight we had during that episode? And there's a good picture of Simon absolutely filling his face with it doing the round somewhere.
Was it a chocolate cake?
Yeah.
Claire Hill made us a cake, and Claire's done sort of mailbox. So Claire has been on the podcast. She also has a heritage number on here, which I'm going to dig out very, very quickly. Claire is 31. So Claire was the 31st. So it was amazing, but it was kind of a bit. It was a bit strange, wasn't it? It was like in a way, it was just like somebody said, "Oh, we've made you a cake," and Neil, you went to pick it up, didn't you?
Yeah. They went up to pick this up. Of course I'm going to go. Who's seen me? Of course I'm going to go.
Well, you worked in Brighouse at the time, and I was like, do you know what, Neil can get this
that was a real story. I worked about 2 minutes away from her house. So, yeah, went and called and had a good chat. She was nice, just a really nice woman. And what a nice thing to do, to be fair, just to bake a cake for these absolute whoppers who go and talk bollocks for a couple of hours every week.
She probably watched and she thought, do you know what, I know what these fat bastards are like. She was
right.
Yeah, she absolutely nailed it. Fair play.
Like cake.
Andy, take that cake. Yeah, absolutely. Smash through that. Do you know what? The thing is, it was half of it was gone when you guys had left. I had another 2 pieces when you got. I was absolutely smashing that cake, and even Rachel and Charlie had some as well. It was brilliant. It was gone. It was nailed. It was superb. Thanks again, Claire. And we win a bit more often these days, so who knows. Brady, you joined us. You are episode 57 or number 57. Let me have a look at this. Brady is episode 57. So you are number 35. So you had a bit of a slow promotion to the podcast. We had to put you off. So initially you used to send us Twitter questions, and then I'd slag you off for sounding like you played NFL quarterback for the Denver Broncos back in the early days. And then you moaned at me that you wanted to write for the website, and I was just like, who is this guy with the odd name? Why not? We need some numbers. So, eventually let you do that. And then you wormed your way onto the mailbox as well, which was a feature that we did. And here you are.
Here I am.
With clothes on this time.
Exactly. Well, I thought about taking them off as soon as that video. There's a special video. But 35, Edmonds Green number. First, I think that mailbox, first one I did was when I was working in Leeds, and I did it in like a Costa coffee. So loads of people were looking at me weird going, yes, a good performance from Jaden Brown and Carlin Grant in this game. So slightly improved since then. Slightly.
Is that it? You've been waiting for 20 minutes for that.
What can I say? Yeah, it's been good. I think people are probably fed up of us talking about how good we are. But yeah, no, it was good. I enjoyed doing it. It's been a good laugh. I think it's helped all of us during lockdown. It's been nice, to be honest. This is from kind of like what Neil and Kosi said, and it's nice to get good feedback, and we have got some good feedback for this and the other stuff we do. But I've just enjoyed coming on here with you lads before and after, and just being like getting it out of my system about town. I think I'd be a lot more annoyed if we couldn't just be like, yeah, that was a bit rubbish on it, and laugh about it. So and it's good to see other people like it as well.
I don't know. But mentioning lockdown there, we moved into sort of the lockdown phase, and obviously the game stopped for 3 months, and we had nothing to do. We decided what we'll do is we'll create, like we did the summer specials, we'll do another number of interviews, but we went a little bit more ambitious, didn't we, in lockdown? We just thought, you know what, nobody's doing anything. Maybe we could get a couple of decent ones. And I thought, initially in lockdown, we had a lot of fun, didn't we, to be fair? And the first message we got is from one of the first interviews that we did. And what a guy this guy is. And to meet your heroes, even if it's via Zoom, and for them to actually turn out to be, great people is phenomenal. So here's the next one. Watch this be in the wrong order now.
Hello, Ian Dunn here, former Huddersfield Town player and follower of all things Huddersfield Town and various football issues going on in the world today. Just want to congratulate Takes That Chance on their 100 episodes. Which is a fantastic achievement. Hope it carries on. It's an excellent listen, excellent watch, and good luck, boys, and everyone else involved with it. Well done.
And then again, we'll play. Shall we play it straight through for the next one as well? Because it was the next episode.
Let me just comment on Ian Dunn.
Go on then.
The funniest bit ever when he was steaming in York.
I was just going to mention that. That was
Challenge
brilliant.
Dunica.
It was brilliant. I couldn't stop laughing. What a guy he is.
Dunica Rice. Yeah. And do you know what?
He was a legend before. He's even bigger now, man.
Nothing's ever too much trouble. You said, Dunny, do you want to come on the podcast this week? He's on every time. Do you know what I mean? He smiles. He's such
sometimes and gets away with it. Is that good?
he's such a top bloke, Ian Dunn, and to meet people, it's fantastic. And then
has Simon gone off all your screens?
Yeah, he's still there. It's
happening again, Brady. It's happening again.
Take over now.
But yeah, so the next one that we had on after that for our lockdown special has also sent a message.
To all the fellas at Andy Takes That Chance podcast, fantastic that you've reached the 100 mark. Yep, I didn't think you'd make it either, but obviously I've been on the show a few times, so that might have helped. But no, seriously, all the lads, brilliant, a great listen every week that it's on. Big Town fans, keep it going, fellas, and we will be listening.
So Mr. Glennon as well. So we had a goalkeeping clinic, didn't we, with Matt, and it's been fun as well to get to know Matt a bit more as well. And I enjoy Matt's input when he comes on the podcast. He's good fun.
You know what I love about Matt Glennon? I've had so many ding dongs with him after games on radio.
Excuse me?
No, but he's great because he just like, you have your say, you have your shouting, and I proper went for him in one of the games this season, but he's just no problem. He's just a good guy. I proper like him, man. And if I had hair, I'd go and get it done with you, mate.
You not go get like a Turkish shave or anything just to get rid of a few stragglers with him, just so you can have a chat.
Haircuts though, I think there's something going on dodgy there in the old ground.
Maybe.
Just been training, mate. That's what it is.
Morning, jealous, mate.
Then obviously we had this man Jacko.
Hi Neil, it's a gaffer, Peter Jackson. Wishing you and the lads all the best. I know you've done amazing on your podcasts, and how many people have been watching it and how many people have been interested in it. And so well done, keep up the good work, and well done on your 100th podcast. Fantastic, lads, well done, proud of you.
And Peter Jackson, what an absolute legend. You know, I was so gutted with the Jacko one because we initially thought we had him for, I think, 2 hours, and I planned a 2-hour podcast for Peter Jackson. And so I had so much depth to go into, you know, for Jacko, you know, and it was all structured, you know, to go through his time. And there was so much. And then we spoke to him and he went, right, lads, I've got an hour. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, it's brilliant. You're giving up an hour of your time for nothing. But the part of me was like, it was so good though, to condense it all though.
When Neil said he'd got that, for me, it was the best one we've ever done. I love the guy because, the 8 players, or whatever. Neil, when you said I've got a special message for you, I like, what is it? Like, we've got Peter Jackson, I was buzzing. And it was a Friday morning at something like 9 o'clock, the most randomest thing. I think it was before I went to work, and we're like, I'm thinking, wow, Peter Jackson's going to be on my computer talking to me. And honestly, the memory lane we went down there, I know we only had an hour, whatever, but it was. And then you put that, you don't like it. The Gaz.
Oh yeah, that was his favourite song, wasn't it? From
I love that so much. That Peter Jackson one so much.
It's just 3 spells at Huddersfield, and there's so much. Honestly, we could have Jacko back tomorrow, and I could chat to him for 3 hours about all sorts. You know, about
He loved it, mate. He loved it.
Phenomenal. You know, he's such a top guy as well, Jacko. You know, he's a lot of fun, isn't he? And I could imagine it'd be a lot of fun. It's a shame Phil's not on it now, but you know, Phil speaks really highly of him and how much fun he wants to play for as well.
And when I was sorting out all these clips and getting in touch with them all and trying to get them to do them, he rang me up, did Jacko. Said, Neil, it's Gaffer. He's off again. Neil, it's Gaffer. Hey up, Gaffer. And we're at work. I've just come off a presentation off screen like this. We're at work, and he said, what are you up to today? And I said, I'm working. He said, oh, where do you work? What do you do? So I tell him all about Andy's Man Club. Wants to get involved with Andy's Man Club now and help us do that.
Brilliant.
Let's be fair, he's had his trials and tribulations over the years, hasn't he, with cancer and stuff.
Yeah. So. I'll tell you what I loved about his O'Neill, his facials. That Junior Mendes thing, when he said, because I was like, I still think to this day we're onside. They were like, yeah, we're definitely off. He went,
I use that in all the Jacko clips. He's just such he's brilliant.
I'm going to watch it. Genuinely good bloke.
Yeah, just.
Did you mention he started that season with 8 players? Because I'm sure he mentions that.
I think it's down to 3 now. I think is that story, but yeah.
His Newcastle stuff were good as well. When he told us about that when he played it, it's a lovely. It's just the way he says his story. It's great guy. What an absolute legend, man.
Yeah, and speaking of legends, I think the podcast probably peaked on the next episode, and this was my favorite just because it was just so surreal. It was just phenomenal, and believe it or not, he even sent a message.
Hello, Neil and the team of And He Takes the Chance. A big congratulations to over 100 podcasts. I appreciate it that I'm on it as well. And just saying, great work, lads. Keep it up and all the best. Michael Lefferty. Bye-bye.
Kosi, what are you thinking when we get on Zoom, we sat there having a chat, and all of a sudden, this wet-haired, comical German guy in a dressing gown just sat there staring back at us on his iPad, and it was just such a surreal moment to see a recent hero.
It was amazing, mate, and Neil kind of touched it as well. But I just think this was deep into lockdown. Mental health and stuff. We were really struggling, weren't we, to kind of cope with everything, and it was just like these things. All my first instinct was the fan base is going to absolutely go wild with this, Michael Lefferty, because it doesn't matter what he said after. And to be honest, I don't think he said anything groundbreaking. But it was Michael Effley in a dressing gown on our Zooms. And we're going to go out to the wider population.
That's all he needed to be, just be himself.
It's just the way.
When we've tried to get him on, to be fair, Danny Hoyle gets all credit for getting in touch with us. And I remember we were driving to Tracy's mum's on I think it was just a Sunday morning. Her mum lives over on the East Coast, so we're driving over there Sunday morning. Well, she was driving, I'm sat in the passenger seat, and the phone went, and it was just a random number, and I never answered them. Never answered them. Just wait, if they want me, they'll leave a message. And she said, "Oh, just answered it." So I answered it, and I just got all I got were Neil, and I thought, what bloody hell's this? He said, "Neil, it's Michael Effley." And I hadn't been funny. Tracy even liked football. I only crashed car. We're on M62, and I must have been on phone with him for about 10 minutes, and it was just one of the most surreal phone calls I've ever had. The man is absolutely barking. He is bonkers, but what a lovely guy. And he still messages now. And when I asked him to do this, he's reminded me again that when he's up, we're off for fish and chips with Yorkshire caviar and all that kind of stuff. Just a genuinely good bloke. And I think that came across to, fans love him, didn't they? All fans loved him. You were
in lockdown, and it was just something good to listen to. It cheered you up, and I love that story where he said when he missed penalty, it's one of them. You think typical. He's been that guy who everybody loves, and in that moment, it was like he's going to miss the penalty that costs us, and then he explains it by saying he did it on purpose to put extra pressure on him. I was just absolutely howling when he said that, and I just thought that just sums the guy up, doesn't he? Yeah. You just like. You have these characters, don't you? When you play Sunday League and stuff like that, and you have these people, and they just make you laugh. And it came at a time that, like you say, were really difficult situation for everybody. It was just nice.
It's just the way he explains things as well. So it's like when he was talking about coming over, he says, "I googled the stadium and I thought, delicious," and it's the sort of different ways. And it's like, I am horny to play for this club, and it's like this is just brilliant. Some of the ways
in a team
he describes things.
If you're picking a team of popular players who you just loved, F and Jack will be your two centre backs, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah,
all day.
Unbelievable. And the man in the middle will be Darren Bullock, and we got to spend a couple of hours with Darren Bullock as well, and that was brilliant, wasn't it? Because he's obviously, Michael Effley to a point has had some form of media training. Ian Dunn's worked in the media. Bully was a loose cannon. He was brilliant, and he was such a top bloke as well, wasn't he? And he's just like. He just said what he wanted, and it was just brilliant. Unbelievable.
When I mentioned about that Carlisle and the autographs, when they were all that fighting in car park, my dad was running back like athletes. Said, "If I'd have been in there, I'd have joined him." He was such a character, though, wasn't he? I know, obviously, we knew, he was a character from his days, and he was so honest. He told us the what's and all the, obviously, the incident with Bradford and what have you, and ended up going out of the club and his emotion. The best thing about it, I thought we got the best out of him, and then the club did a similar thing, and it was like a watered down version of what we did and that as well. And again, I think the best thing about these guys, we're meeting as heroes, but they're disappearing off our Zooms, even bigger heroes, because you meet them and they're just good guys. It makes you think they bloody were good people and that as well, wasn't they? But
yeah, I've got some people that will.
He could have gone on forever, didn't want to leave. Unlike Jacoby, an hour, he could have had about 8 hours with Bully.
Just a really privileged position to be in to get these people on and just let them talk. I mean, like you say, we're Fs.
We're just three shithouses, aren't we? We're just cheeky enough to ask people, and it's just phenomenal that they say yes, isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
It's incredible. And we in terms of content, where Brady, you took over some of the stuff as well. You got involved. You did other stuff, and you organised the non-league podcast as well, didn't you? So which was great. It initially was going to be, I think, just Brighouse, but then you got Joe Scars involved. You and Neil.
Neil helped out.
Joe Scars and Quinny as well. And Quinny's become quite particular to the podcast. He jumps in, and we do have another message.
Hi Neil and everyone at And He Takes That Chance podcast. This is James Howard from Brighouse Town Football Club. Just want to say a huge congratulations on your 100th episode of And He Takes That Chance. It's fantastic. I tune in to most episodes, and I've been a real honour to be asked to be on there in the past. So a massive congratulations from everyone at Brighouse Town Football Club. Keep up the great work, guys, and hopefully tune into the next episode really soon. Apologies for the lockdown beard, but times are tough. Take care, all the best, bye bye.
And I think that's all the messages. So that's enough self-indulgence and self-worship from us for now. But those are the messages coming through. So Brady, talk us through, like, because essentially you can only get so many ex-players in, and then you start to look for different ideas. And you, quite new to the podcast, very sort of creative in things what you've tried to do. And one of the episodes you did, which I thought was a lot of fun as well, was the shirts one with Phil Delves. I thought that was a great one. Just talk us through those two podcasts and how much fun they were as well.
Yeah, the Big Ass one was really good. Obviously, Damo, who we all know, like he had some good stories to tell. So did James. And I don't know, like you say, I think this is kind of a wider point, but I'm sure the lads will agree. But particularly when we couldn't go to town games, like non-league, I went to Brighouse. I know Si did. I know Kosi was a big fan of going to Scarborough. Like it meant a lot, and it was just good to chat to James. I know obviously Neil's Neil's involved with Brighouse now as well, so it's all good. But yeah, like it was just interesting. I think this is more for me, but I think obviously the non-league stories are a lot more interesting in some respects because it's everyday people who've like us who are mad enough to do a podcast and do it for the love. It's the same with them with a club, like running a club, just because they love it and care about it. So it was interesting. Obviously the Gary Neville stuff was interesting, so that was really good. I think the Phil Delves one with the shirts, everyone loves talking about the shirts. Town have had some crackers over the years as well, even if you're not a Town fan. And to be honest, it's just nice to talk about something other than results, to be honest, especially given since you guys started this podcast, it's been pretty much downhill in terms of results. Interested. I mean, I love that, COVID times affect that, but the shirts reveals are always good. Obviously, we've had a bit of an interesting couple of shirts reveals recently. So, it's good fun. I think, it'd be great to do some more stuff like that.
I was thinking, I reckon Luke Cowan might be up for an episode maybe in the summer. Let's see if we can put some pressure on Luke to come on board. And I think he has a big say, doesn't he, in a lot of how shirts are released and sold. So I think that'll be a lot of fun as well if we got Luke on. So Luke, if you're listening, on the off chance, summertime. So even then, we the next bit is after that, we decided to go live with the podcast. We decided to do it live in front of an audience rather than ask questions on Twitter. And there's some teething problems, wasn't there, Kosi? One of your favourite moments was a podcast you were involved in, but you absolutely love this. And Chris Markham joined us. So Brady started the warm-up really to try and get Chris Markham on more because he's, fantastic analytical mind, if you like, as well. And
look at that one,
off the back of appearing on this podcast, he's got a job at Bolton Wanderers as a technical director. So who knows what the future holds for everyone else. But he made his debut on the podcast. And Kosi, one of your favourite moments was when he was left holding the Brady.
Oh,
see what I did there on the moment as well.
So I were working allegedly that day. So Forest, we were so bad, and I just thought, I were down in the dumps. But you did your podcast live, and we started to do a few of these, didn't we? Straight after the game, and let's say Matt, where you mentioned Brady, your creativity, Matt decided to. So we had a great Zoom platform that everyone loved and worked perfectly, and then Matt decided, it was just basically the world was crashing around
Zoom's
Brady.
like meh.
The Titanic, mate, was sinking, and Neil did one of the great. He doesn't do it justice unless it's videoed on, but everyone would go in, and then Neil would just did this. He got near the screen, just cut his camera off, and there were just Brady left with Chris.
From 6-2 because Poz were the first one to drop off, weren't they? And then the thing is, Lightstream, what we used, I'm going to shit out some Lightstream. This laptop, it uses that much CPU, it makes the laptop overheat and therefore restart. So that's why I disappeared and Poz disappeared and Neil just sort of went, fuck this, I'm off.
No, it was great though because I hadn't met Chris, so we'd spoke to him I literally spoke to him 10 seconds before we went live, and then Kosi was just messaging, and I think Neil was like, "Oh, you should or maybe you, Matt, was like, you should wrap it up. So everyone's gone off, and me and Chris, I'm just like, so Chris, yeah, what did you think about this? I'm just going to fill it for like 5 minutes.
Fantastic. You throw in at the deep end, mate. That's what it's all about. You either sink or swim, and thankfully you managed to swim a little bit. So there's a badge on its way for you for that. So one of the newest people that we've got involved with us, and I think it's been one of the best as well, is it feels like he's our pundit, if you like. So ex-players as pundits, obviously a huge thing, and they do offer a completely different side to what a fan doesn't always appreciate or look into. And we're lucky enough in episode 56 to bring Phil Senior in as probably I look at him as our sort of ex-pro pundit, if you like, and it's been great knowing Phil, and he seems to have taken to us a little bit as well.
And he takes that chance. 100 episodes. What an absolute pleasure spending time with you guys. Fantastic knowledge of Huddersfield Town. Great insight to each game. At least everybody watches the games, don't they, Pozzy? Just like to say a massive well done to you all, everybody involved. And long may it continue, and keep up the good work. Cheers.
The first time I spoke to Phil was actually at a game when I'd started going and sitting in lower tier at Riverside. He was sat about 5 or 6 rows behind me. And I just thought, let's just ask him. What's going on podcast, mate? And he knew about it a little bit, I think, and give me his phone number. And I think he's a good part of your team now, to be fair. I think it's good. He's good. He's honest, isn't he? He's just honest and says it as it is. And it's good to get that insight from an ex-pro who is actually a proper fan as well.
Yeah, he's a good lad. I enjoy his messages. Or like just before we go on the podcast when we've not played well. It's like you say, Neil, very, very honest.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah.
I think we'll start to wrap up this self-indulgent look back through time now. But it's been a lot of fun, guys. It's a lot of fun talking to people online as well, dealing with people online. Little funny, little videos and little memes and all the stuff that we try and do as well. It's just for a laugh, basically. At the end of the day, most of it, isn't it, to try and entertain? Well, not so much entertain, but just to engage. Yeah. Well, the team aren't entertaining either, so I think we have to play our part sometimes. So, it's been a lot of fun, guys. So thanks to you guys for jumping in. But I'll just push you for maybe your favourite memory altogether of the podcast. Let's go top left in my thing, which is Mr. Kusmala first.
I just think making a difference to people, really. I don't want to put in there. I just loved it when I walk around the field and that's because it does a podcast and sort of someone, my dad loves it or someone don't miss it, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just to make a difference to someone is just awesome, because I talk that much crap, I sometimes forget what I've even said myself. But to me, if you're making a difference to someone, it's good, and that's all I ever wanted to do, really, and that as well. So it's until when the day I stop enjoying it is the day it'll finish. But it's brilliant, honestly. I know there's other podcasts pop up, and for me, the more the merrier. But it's I love the fact that people enjoy what we do, and that means a lot to me.
I call that. What about you, Brady?
Well, I mean, the one I really enjoyed, the Sean Jarvis one, that Kosi and Neil invited me to go on with. I thought that was great, and like you say, it was nice to give him a proper send off. I think this sounds like we're just kissing each other's asses, but I do. It's just like, we moan about the games in like our chat, and then we just come on like frustrated about it, and then we just all have a laugh. And I don't know, it's really, it's really cheesy to say, but it always cheers me up. No matter how crap Town have been, and let's be honest, they've been crap a lot recently. Like just cheers me up and it's been good to get to know all you guys and to many more episodes.
How about you, Neil?
It's hard to just pick one thing, innit? I think being in a privileged position to meet some of us genuine footballing heroes is, a platform that not many people get. So that's been good. Obviously, mentally for me, I know I'm going on about it and I said it earlier on, but mentally for me, it's been huge. I make no apology for saying that again. And that's obviously the main reason why I don't do it anymore, is because I ain't got time. as much as I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, I'm obviously really busy at work now, working some crazy different hours all over the place for Andy's Man Club. So, and I think we've shown that we care about people as well, and that's important. We've done a lot of stuff promoting, obviously, everything charity-wise around Huddersfield, the foundation itself, Andy's Man Club, Street Kitchen, etc. A few other things, and I think we've helped a lot of people. I think we've really helped a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and I think we can all be, and I don't care if it gets same blowing smoke up as ours or not, I think we can all be rightfully proud of a little part we've played on putting a smile on somebody's face.
Go on, Simon.
Risk of sounding very much like Brady. Been getting to know you guys, actually. Obviously, I knew Matt from kind of time gone by, but I never met Kosi, Neil, Brady, Poz previously, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and chat shit.
One of my lasting memories on Si is the first time I ever met him, and he walked in with his notebook ready full of notes. And we're just sat there. Absolutely.
I think that was more of a ledger, to be honest, than a notebook.
Brilliant. There's me and Kosi just winging it as per. Matt with a stack that high. And he's got notes. I'm having more than him.
He had shirt and trousers on, didn't he, as well, and a pair of shoes.
I was like this at side.
I was nervous, Neil.
You were brilliant, mate. You were class.
And then Poz, who's probably got the best background of any of us, doesn't he? With his signed, is it signed Marcus Stewart, or is it just a Marcus Stewart framed shirt? And
sign and Tommy, other one's Tommy Smith from when we beat Leeds when FLA scored at end. If we managed to grab it through into the crowd. Very bad news though, it will be getting taken away soon because we're having some work done on the house. So I'm going to have to find somewhere else to put it all, apparently, according to Mrs. So I might have to buy a shed or something and sit in there and do these.
Be amazing.
Just on your question, based on what everybody else has said, it's nice, especially over lockdown, to have a forum to vent this kind of, once you've played bad, it's nice to come on and do live ones where you can have that discussion, which you'd usually have in pub. Miss is certainly interested, so only other people I could talk to about is guinea pigs, and they're not that bothered either. So in that respect, it's been really nice. And you've mentioned any of criticism from people in the past. Even since I've been doing it, there's you get some sort of comments and stuff. But I think when you put your head sort of above, like what we do, you open yourselves up to that. But we're not experts. We're not trained in media. We have as opinions. We're just different. We're just fans, and we just do this like any other conversation that we normally have in pubs. So when people are sort of having a pop at us, don't think we're trying to be better than other fans, because we're certainly not. We've just decided to record as viewers.
Just
rather
a bunch of shithouses. This is like a bunch of shithouses with a microphone. That's all we are, aren't we? Really?
Just gobshites, really.
Exactly.
But it's been nice, and like I said, it's been nice to get people, and hopefully when we're back, we can actually get together in a pub and do a couple of episodes there after a match. And if it's live,
Magic Rock, not the pub. It has to be Magic Rock, obviously.
Just take that chance, I think, on website.
It
would be great to do a live one, and who knows what we can do moving forward, maybe with an audience in there and stuff like that. There's plenty of
crack
we can go to. Hopefully, it'll continue to grow next season or so. So yeah, cheers for having me regular. It's been good.
And one of the funny things is, I've known, I think we've all known Brady for over a year now, maybe 2 years, because of stuff going on. None of us have ever met Brady Frost in the flesh. That is one of the strange things from the podcast, because we've all been doing this over Zoom and light stream once, twice.
Plenty of his flesh.
Yeah, we've seen the flesh, but we've never actually met him in the flesh, and this is another thing which would be great.
That's why we're not
to meet Brady. Apparently, he's about 6'6". Neil is Brady, so this is going to be 6'5". 6'5". It's going to be interesting, isn't it? So, who's the shortest? Kosi, you're the shortest, I think, out of all us lot. So, you'll be chest height, won't you? With exactly like that. So, it'll be a lot of fun to get back in the tap room, I think, with you guys, and just do it from there. It'd be fantastic to do it. Jabs are coming, so hopefully we'll be back before long. And obviously, Josh Quirk's messaging me saying, I can't believe I've never had a mention. There's your mention, Josh. So, thanks to the 68 who've been involved with the podcast. I might as well mention them all very quickly. Matt Shaw, Neil Wayne, Rich Kasmala, Ollie Fisher, Danny G, Dan Parrott, Elliot Wheatbowen, Jamie White, Stu Foster, Ash Heptonstall, Reece Dinsdale, Jonathan Buck and Dan Fowler, Simon Taff, Bobby Madley, Sean Jarvis, Stephen Chicken, Paul Ogden, Dean Hoyle, Danny Hoyle, Skippy, Kosi. You did a cherry tree chat with someone from Australia,
mate.
and you just called him Skippy.
That's what it's called. Great guy. He went to Wolves, mate, when we won. Aaron Moy, what a goal. Sliding on knees, up the town.
Skippy. Richard Schofield, again, did the post-match stuff. Decent, wasn't it, with you and Richard in the Cherry Tree and Gas Club. Simon Copland, number 23. Phil Hodgkinson. Chris Carter, thanks to Chris again for the music he provides. Josh Quirk. Martin Sykes, who does our match reports on the website. Dave Hartrick. Dev Wilcox popped in with an episode down at Magic Rock. Luca Dinsdale, Claire Hill, Sivan John, Graham Rayner, Ian Kilroy Silk, Brady, Nathan Hosker, Chris Heaston down in Australia, Joe McGregor in Texas, John McNamara, a.k.a. Bloggy Potter from Northern Ireland, Jody Calver, Andy Kay, thanks to Andy who sponsored us with AKLD for a little while as well, Freddie Cocker, Graham Fox. Graham Fox turned up for one episode, one of the lockdown ones, had a power cut in London, and then never seen him since. I don't know what happened or whether they ever got the power back down to his part. So Graham, if you're still out there, Morse code, whatever, we'll reply. Andrew Gale, Jamie Rayner, Russ Bathgate, Ted Chippington's other half, Ian Dunn, Matt Glennon, Darren Bullock, Peter Jackson, Michael Heffley, Damon Wales, James Howard, Chris Mark and Phil Senior, Phil Delves, Laura Elford, Dale Marsden, Tom Bradshaw, Jordan Wimpenny, Marcus Wilkinson, Joe Scars, Paul Quinns, Ryan Mather, James Whitaker, Richard Burhouse, and Cameron Pope is number 68. Thank you very much for your contributions over the last couple of years to the podcast. And I think there's only one thing left to do in times like this. Pozza is going to kick us off with a new song for our 100th episode. Thank you and good night.
Forgot lines now, hang on a minute.
Lads, there's only one thing left to do, and that's sing.
Now, it was a parody to an old favourite at that particular time. Now, and this is how it went. Now, excuse my bad singing, but I do know the words. And it went like this.
Rich Guzmana, Danny G, Matt Shaw had a dream. Crap, Mike, Sound Spikes,
Relentless Machine.
Tim Clark, John Kelly, Towns, worst ever team. Callahan, Hamilton, Super
Alan Lee.
Connor Bell's got my tear.
Ollie Fisher's Drunken Swear.
HSK, AMC, Neil was never off the end. Jason Gunny, but the snake. Who said more than he could take? Wilfred Tyler, Robbie Fowler, Wolves get on the banner.
To a pop song.
We didn't start the fire.
It was always burning since the world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire.
No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it.
Simon Copland's dodgy tash.
Oh, Jan's team was gash.
Steven John, 10-1. Phil was watching squash. Bobby Madley, Augie's call.
Dean Hoyle, hold it up.
Andy Rhodes, Blackie Sack, Davey Wagner on the lash. Danger Zone, boldly.
Kosi gagged by Andy Kay.
Magic Rock, Advocate, Claire Hill even made escape. Marston, Protester, West Brom, ESR. Breakfast with Phil Hodgkinson.
Brady, get some clothes on, son. We didn't start the fire.
It was always burning.
Burning since the world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire.
No, we didn't light it,
but we tried to fight it.
Andrew Gale, Ian Dunn, Darren Bullock, Lockdown Fun, Hef's down, dressing gown, Jacko's 3 spells at the town, social media, silly memes,
Pozza hasn't watched the games.
Live stream, crashed and burned, Chris Monken's all alone, Johnny Buchan, Josh Quirk, Matt's computer wouldn't work, Matt Glenn and Chicken Man,
Dancing Carlos Goberan,
Fiery Breeze, Phil Senior, CC Feliz, Nabisa, Sketch, Baton Bradshaw, here's to 100 more. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire.
No, we didn't light
it, but we tried to fight it.
We didn't start the fire.
It was always burning since the world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire.
No, we didn't line it, but we're trying to find it.
How's that up, pal?